Ooh, baby, the summer of cricket has officially kicked off with an enthralling white ball series loss to Pakistan. Do we care? Maybe, maybe not. There is a big series upcoming in less than 2 weeks. That's right. India is coming down under. Aussie and India A have just duked it out for 2 unofficial test matches, with all eyes turning to Nathan McSweeney being named in the squad, which was named today. Plus, footy wraps up after a long, long season. Australia finished the international games winning the Pacific Champs. Tonga did give them a good run for their money. Some off-season movements in the NRL, and the Wallabies actually get a win in England. NFL halfway mark of the season is here. A few big moves before the trade deadline. We'll have a look at the divisions and see who's going well and who is in full tank mode. NBA, the first few weeks are in the books. The Cavs and Celtics are miles ahead in the East, and there's plenty of teams looking impressive in the West. Man United finally fire Eric Ten Hag, and City have dropped a few. We'll have a look at some soccer, plus a final round with a UFC 309 preview, the much-anticipated heavyweight fight with John Jones and Stipe Miocic returning to the octagon at the ripe old age of 42, and the F1 is nearly done, only 3 races to go. This is On The Esky, an Aussie sports podcast. We like our Aussie sport, we like our US sport. I like to have a bit of a laugh and a dribble. We have timestamps on YouTube. You can skip to the sports that you like. If you're nuts for everything sport, just check out the whole damn thing. We do have social media, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Just the 2 of us on the panel today. One bloke recovering from some possibly spicy, maybe mild flu. Anyways, Monks is not with us tonight. So just Sean on my left here. Shauno, who are you shouting a beer this week?
Well, I think we've been following this theme for a little bit, and I thought it was worthwhile to close the story that was the Major League Baseball season, MLB, with the LA Dodgers getting the win in the World Series there. They're winning 4-1 over the Yankees, and Shohei Ohtani being in that massive storyline. But he really played second fiddle in the World Series. Freddie Freeman was unreal and ended up being the series MVP. He hit homers in every game, I believe. But what was interesting, they dropped Game 4, and then going into Game 5, they were down 5 runs in the 5th innings, and then they came out and hit 5 runs straight back, get themselves back into the contest, into that match, and ended up running away with it, winning that 7-6 to then get the final win there to be World Series champions. So, I think that was Shohei Ohtani's dream. That's my main reason they went over there, to build the super squad that it is. And they managed to get the job done in the first season when they're all together. So, yeah, very impressive. Yeah,
almighty bed-shitting job there from the Yankees in that 5th game, that's for sure.
True.
We're starting to look at it like, a bit of momentum.
I'll get this one, and then it's
has anyone come from 3-0 down? No, no one has. And a lot of focus on Ohtani's shoulder as well after a subluxation.
I believe he's having surgery as well.
Yeah. I think similar type of presentation to Nathan Cleary for those leagueies.
He just had surgery during the week as well.
He has. And with the absence of Monks tonight, would you like to do a double shout the beer?
Yes. And again, following on from previous shout of beers, our mate Gout, Queensland's 16-year-old, just smashed the under-18, under-20 state, national and Oceania records at the Queensland All Schools track and field. Absolutely dominated by about 30 metres, ran away from them, but he ran a time of 20.29 in the 200, which is crazy. He had a 1.2 win assist, but still a crazy feat. And then you get all the comparisons for how fast was Bolt going at the same age, and he's been quicker than him. But it's going to be pretty interesting, especially coming into the next Olympics. And then, of course, the Olympics down here, which will be prime for him in his mid-20s. Yeah.
I was reading that only 4 teenagers have ever run that time before, one of which was Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
So incredible feats from Gout. It's going to be a lot of pressure on him too, because obviously a lot of people following his career, being such a young age.
Especially athletics in Australia. We don't do well often, and if we've got one that's out and out.
Come into a bit of a golden era in Australian athletics, obviously.
I think the girls been leaning it for us.
Big time. The girls are really carrying the load for us at Paris, and it'll be interesting upcoming. Obviously before then, he'll need to grow into his body a little bit more. He'll have a few world champs and things to have a crack at it.
Yeah, it's wild to think.
If you haven't seen that race, check it out, because he wins by 15 metres, I reckon.
Heaps. So much.
Yeah. So he's got a bit of talent about him. Get out. Enjoy your non-alcoholic beer. That's what we'll shout you, given that you're only 16.
Yes. What about you, Peps? A bit of beers and horses again?
Yeah, theme here, mate. It's springtime, spring carnival, obviously just wrapping up, and the big one, the race that stopped the nation allegedly. I don't know if it does anymore.
It's not really holidays anymore.
Well, a lot of places don't get a public holiday. No public holiday where we live, and also I think with the Everest and things going along. But anyways, the most famous race in Australia, the Melbourne Cup, Knight's Choice winning it at about $101, which is the second time in the last decade that a $100 roughie has won it, thinking back to Michelle Payne winning on Prince of Penzance in 2015, which also means that it's been, in that time, I think the last time a favourite won the Melbourne Cup was Fiorente in 2013. Yep. So there's been $200 roughies that have won since the favourite last one. So well done to you if you had anything there on Knight's Choice. Came from absolutely nowhere. Robbie Dolan on board, his first Melbourne Cup win there, and Aussie owned and trained as well, which is becoming rarer in the modern Melbourne Cup. So shout a beer out to Knight's Choice, Robbie Dolan and the team involved. I'm sure, again, much like the Everest shout a beer that I did, probably plenty consumed, I would think, after winning the most famous race in Australian racing.
I did remember, almost mock-worthy, AJ Brimson tweeting out his sports bet account and having a bet.
It was his mum's, bro. It was his family account.
Also showing that he bet on him. Well, was a bet on himself to be a try scorer. So, betting on NRL games, but allegedly it's his mum. That's the story. That's what we're running with.
That's what we're running with.
Putting a little punt on the son to get a try, by all accounts. So,
it's also, if you haven't seen
very NRL, as I think.
It's a screenshot of Knight's Choice and, winning a few and back to the pub for a few drinks, something along those lines. And underneath is something that's sort of scratched out, but you can sort of make out that it's a punt on NRL games. Anyways, I don't know how that's all played out.
I think they sent it to the integrity unit and there hasn't been any official thing, but I think everyone's believing the story that, actually it's his mum's account. Which is okay, which I think might be a slightly different rule to how the NFL does it. But, family betting on the rules in Australia for the rugby league guys is family members can bet on games.
And he also hasn't played for over a month as well. So there's obviously, I don't know.
It's an old bet, but
do your own research.
Integrity of sport.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pretty funny. We'll go into our actual mop of the week. So a lot of media conjecture and comments on social media after the fallout from the GWS Mad Monday or Wacky Wednesday or whatever it was a month or so ago.
What costumes are good costumes?
Well, apparently, according to the AFL and dressing up for Mad Mondays, umpire Lee Howson, they didn't really like his Osama bin Laden get up.
Why are umpires having a Mad Monday?
Hey, mate, they've had a long season too.
They've been abused all year. They need to let the hair down.
They should have a week.
Yeah.
So Lee has officiated 147 AFL games. He's been an AFL umpire for the last 7 years, and apparently this again was much like the GWS event. Was in a private room, so someone snitched on the theme, which was characters from the 2000s. So very prominent in the early 2000s.
I don't think he's a character, but
for sure. Yeah.
Yes. So do you know what the result was? What fine is? Because I'm looking to see, because if Ray Gunn's this much and Osama's this much and Jared Haynes maybe a bit more than that, what should I be wearing to my next?
Well, I think we established that Toby Green did not get fined for dressing up as Ray Gunn. I think it was just the fact that he was captain and didn't really intervene as much as he
they probably
should have.
thought, you're dressed up as Toby Green, here's the fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I am Toby Green. Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, double down. That's it, 6 weeks, Toby. Stop arguing. So interesting. So he's only missing one game from next year, the first round,
which is probably a couple $100 in his paycheck.
Yes,
I don't think the umpire's getting paid shitloads.
Exactly. Also, no offensive skit, and I think he was only in it for a little bit, so you can go. Yeah, exactly. Make of it what you like. But yeah. Put it down in the things that you can't dress up on Mad Monday is Osama bin Laden. Yeah.
So the NRL has their high shots and their tiers of impact and that, and the AFL's got what costumes you can wear to Mad Mondays and the tiers.
Yeah. So we'll say this is a grade 2 medium impact. Did not show signs of intent. He's just copying. He's just copying a week.
Yeah.
Thinking of you there, Lee, and
Too silly.
yeah, Old Osama.
Yeah.
Very prominent early 2000s, that's for sure. Zero Dark 30, good movie if you've on the Osama theme. Let of run us into some cricket, I think.
Yes, let's get into some Aussie sports.
So the Australian Test squad has been announced. Obviously, every Australian punted over the last
hardcores.
over the last month essentially since Cam Green announced that he was out for the summer, going for his back surgery. Was thinking who's going to replace him, and then we probably need an opener. So a lot of the rhetoric was around who can open the batting, and Nathan McSweeney announced in this squad, which includes Usman Khawaja, Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith, Travis Head, Mitch Marsh, Alex Carey, Pat Cummins, the captain, Nathan Lyon, Mitch Stark, Josh Hazlewood, Josh Inglis, backup keeper, and Scotty Boland. So there were a few blokes that definitely had their names in the hat, that's for sure. Cam Bancroft, you got to feel sorry for the bloke, don't you?
He scored over 10 once so far.
He's had 4 ducks from 8 knocks this summer, averaging 3.6.
His worst summer in a long time, which is unfortunate because it's probably his maybe last opportunity, being, 32?
I would say the ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Cam. And your heart breaks for the bloke. Obviously, caught up in Sandpaper Gate. How much of that was him? How much of it was him just trying to do what he thought, the team required of him?
That's what the senior leadership was asking him to do. And this young fella, he followed suit and paid the price, unfortunately.
And we've spoken about it a lot on this potty before, but the more I follow along, I think there was a falling out with him and some of those players.
Yeah.
Possibly one that's just recently retired.
Yes.
Anyways, politics aside, the bloke's form has been dreadful this summer. And
so he put a line through himself, unfortunately.
But it's such a shame because the last 2 summers he's been the best stick in Shield.
3 summers maybe?
In Shield cricket. Good, so. And we're talking about it at the start of the year, those West Indies ones, and where Smudger went up to open the batting. And I was like, get Bancroft in there. I was, on the tape saying that. And obviously, the bloke's made 28 runs or something in 8 knocks. He's not going to get himself selected. So hopefully he can go back to WA and make a few runs and make something out of the summer.
Yep, agree.
I did think Marcus Harris was getting pretty close to getting a recall.
Averaging between 40, I think it was like 44 for this summer in comparison.
I've got his scores here for this summer. So started off well with the Vicks with 143 and 52. And then 26-16, that second Victorian game. So nothing to write home about. And then for Oz A, 36-17, Ducks 74. Or 74 Duck. When he made that 74 and he had the ton just a few weeks ago, I thought, geez, Micah Harris.
He's been in the squad before.
He's a specialist opener. McSweeney is not.
Yeah. And then he got the golden quacker and you're like, there is this to his game as well.
And also the age. So the other thing I think with Marcus and Cam was they're both in their early 30s, whereas McSweeney ripe at 25. And maybe just needs another few years in the fruit basket just to ripen up a little bit more.
Because it's going to hit
young Sam Constas, the 19-year-old.
So for you, like McSweeney, he's probably started to grow into his prime. He had been playing in the Shield for a couple of years, averaging about 35. And then this year, he's really hit that off. He's averaging over 50 so far in the last, 12 months of red ball cricket and first-class cricket. So that's pretty impressive. Had not a great game against India A, but kind of came in and stabled the ship after they lost the 2 quick ones, being Bancroft and Harris, and then batted well with Constance there to get them going again. And Sam, I think on the age thing, is just like, maybe just too young, but he's had kind of the same ascendancies that McSweeney has, but he's also 6 years younger.
He's going to have ample opportunity. We're talking about it in the group chat. In the next few years, there's going to be a big changing of the guard when it comes to Australian Test cricket. You'd think Khawaja, Smith, Lyon, Stark, Hazelwood will all retire probably in the next 3-ish years. So plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, but you got to look
Sam
at someone
Costas and some of the young bowlers as well.
Yeah, and you might want to look at someone like Labuschagne. Maybe form hasn't been great as well. And so
I wouldn't be worried just yet if I was Marnus. If we get to the end of this summer and there's no runs, I'd probably start to get a little bit worried.
And if the thing has been there's no one knocking the door down for a long time. And now we've got some of these young fellas actually coming back, knocking the door down. And another good 12 months for Sam. And maybe he gets a run a spot, especially one of those guys is struggling and he'd be 20. That's the storyline you can probably see for next summer of cricket.
Did we talk about it on the pod, or was it just in the group chat when he made those back-to-back tons for New South Wales? He was the youngest person to do that since Ricky Ponting. And there's only been a handful of guys to do that under the age of 21 in Shield cricket. And some of the names were Ricky Ponting and Don Bradman. So in pretty elite sort of company there.
But then also, pump the brakes.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a stat, bro. It's just a stat.
Yeah, because, we've already been through this in the last couple of years.
Yeah, Will Pucovski.
And other things played into that. His cricket was probably the least of it. So
getting a hit in the head multiple times probably didn't help.
Yes.
And that's the other thing that you worry.
Anything can happen, but
100%.
Let's let him grow.
Definitely.
He's got plenty of time.
Definitely.
And
he'll have ample opportunity in the coming years.
Exactly.
But the man they go with is Nathan McSweeney. I've got, you're mentioning how good his form has been recently. So for South Australia, his knocks this year have been 55, 127 not out, 37 and 72. Was named captain of South Australia at the start of the year.
Yeah. So,
was captaining this Australia A team. And I think Cricket Australia really played their hand as well with this second unofficial test match with him opening the batting. Yeah.
They wanted to get him, try him out there. Now, do you think he opens against India? Or do you think, go back to that conversation, do you put Head there and then move him into the middle order, get him some game time in the Australian squad before you throw him to the Wolves against India as an opener?
I don't think Travis Head wants to open the batting, so I don't think it's going to be Trav. I'm sure he'd be great. It's really
we've definitely talked to death about it.
Yeah, exactly, and aggressive, and after in this post-Warner era, you think of Warner really taking it to the opening bowlers and getting right on top of them in the first session. I could see Travis Head doing that to a T if he wanted to do that and if that was what was best for the team. Doesn't look like that's going to be what goes ahead here. Everything I'm hearing and reading is that Smudge is going to go back to 4, which means McSweeney's probably going to have to open the batting, which is a monumental feat for a guy who has always batted 3 or 4 for South Australia and for Queensland beforehand. There has been cases like this in the past. Simon Kadich comes to mind. Shane Watson come to mind of blokes who weren't really opening the batting and then got given an opportunity to go, play for Australia and try and cement down an opening position. So maybe that's what McSweeney's going to have to do here. And then there's guys as well, a lot of whom batted a lot of 3 and then really cemented themselves as openers. Justin Langer comes to mind there.
Yeah. A lot of these guys want to bat 3 and 4. They want to be that's the superstar position, let's call it. For the batters. That's where you want to come out. But, if you get it in the Australian squad, you want to be in the Australian squad. So
that's, I think, the other part of it as well is you're 25, you've trained your whole life to try and earn yourself a baggy green.
You're not going to say, nah.
Yeah, I think you say, I'll open, I'll fucking bat 9 and not bowl, exactly. I'm happy to be here. And of course it's a lot of pressure, but these guys are professional athletes. The mental game that comes into it with cricket, they would work on it. I'm sure a lot of them these days talk with sports psych and trying to really get on top of the mindset side of the game. So wish him all the best. And if he is out there opening for Australia in 12 days' time, and what a story it could be if he goes out there and makes a few runs. Going back to punter and how mentioning Sam Costas in the same sentences as Ricky Ponting, some interesting remarks from punter during the week about if you averaged 35 back in my day, your parents would come get you a ball from a different sport. Try something
pick up
else.
some other sport, basketball, something like that.
I think he somewhat in jest as well.
I think he was referring to English batsmen as well, their current averages. But there were some connections to that. You have a look at some of the Shield guys. Because you look at McSweeney and you look at his overall average at 38. You're like, oh, okay. And, it's in the ballpark to what Ricky's talking about. But, this year versus previous years, you break it out, like he's in the 50s.
I read out his scores from this year. The back end of the last Shield season, he was red hot too. He had this is how he finished: 53, 67, 117, 6. So 2 50s and 100 out of his last 4 knocks to end off the last season. So his form is impeccable.
Do you have the scorecard for the India A game?
Yeah, I should be able to find it.
Because I think he only got 25, but did he see off like 90 rocks or something like that?
Yeah, I think he saw a bunch of rocks off. I've got so he top scored from both games combined. Only 166 runs from his 4 knocks. Had that 88 not out in the second innings of the first match to average 55. But yes, in terms of being a traditional opener and seeing off the rocks, he faced 408 balls in the series, by far the most, just striking at 40. But watching, obviously white ball, red ball, apples, oranges, but watching our top order just fail 3 times in a row in these 50 over games, which we'll get to in a second. Maybe he's just there to see off the ball, and if you get through to the first session, you don't have to have a heap of runs, and then you got Smudge and Marnus and Travi coming out. Exactly.
Well, they must obviously like his style, his form. To say
more sort of traditional opener.
Exactly.
Well,
like if he can defend well, he can see off the ball. He doesn't have to score big runs to start with. He can do us a job and protect Labuschagne a little bit, who's on occasion
essentially been an opener the last 2 seasons anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Give him a chance to come out after the ball softened up, and then Labuschagne can play his more natural game and hopefully get some runs himself. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Not long to go until India. Yeah, they have beaten us, I think, the last 4 series now. So
not a lot of form for them either.
2 over there, 2 here, and we have to mention it. Did finish up last weekend. New Zealand going over there and sweeping them 3-0. It's the first time they've ever lost a 3-game series at home 3-0.
I think there'll be some new grounds keepers looking well, there'll be some jobs available for groundskeepers, I think, over there. A few disappearing probably. Yeah,
a few bodies washing up in Hyderabad rivers and whatnot. Well, that credit to the Kiwis as well.
They turned it just as much as the Indians did.
And just from a side perspective, Kane Williamson didn't play a single test. Mitch Santner had a side strain or something. He missed the second game, third game, and they got the ball swinging in India, which we haven't been able to do.
No. So, we can barely get the ball swinging anywhere. So
day-night test in down under. Don't worry about that.
That's it.
Well, let's roll that into these ODIs. Pakistan, credit to them. Win a series down here, first time since 2002-ish.
Very confident coming off their England, playing England in Pakistan.
They found a bit of form, Pakistan as well. Their white ball team not that far removed from their red ball team. So the likes of Babar and Rizwan and Shafiq and Shah Afridi. There's a fair bit of carryover between their red ball and the white ball. They went the exact same 11 for all 3 of these ODIs as well. And they get their first series win down under for a long time. We're having a look at that team that did win down under 20 odd years ago. Had the likes of Wazim Akram, Waqar Yunus, Inzaman al-Haq, Mohammed Yusuf, pretty handy team. Mind you, the Aussie white ball team at that time as well was incredible.
Yes, yeah. As expected.
So good on them.
I think they probably could have won the series 3, all 3 games. It was just Cummins, I guess, the Cummins magic in the first game to pull it out for us. But for the second and third game, they just blew us off the ground, really.
We had no answer for their bowling attack. Between Shah Afridi, Harris Ralph and Nazim, they just had us on toast.
And they took a liking to our fast bowlers in the second 2 as well. So, it's I guess the caveat is no one was there to see any of these games, so it never happened.
Lost the series, so we don't care about it.
Yeah, I think they had a bigger crowd at the Australia A versus India A game. So,
well, there was certainly more interest, I think, from a lot of not everyone, but a lot of people. I was saying to you guys, I was like, I think I'm more interested in this A game.
I definitely watched more of the Test match than I did of the one day game.
Unofficial Test match.
Unofficial Test match. Yeah.
Just given the magnitude of what was at stake, I suppose, for a lot of those guys, and you don't really see it anymore either. Australia A used to be a relatively, stable fixture in the Australian cricketing calendar. Whereas you don't see it a whole lot these days, and essentially a tryout,
it was exactly what it was, and I think it ended up being perfect in that regard. And maybe a little bit for India A as well, because, their depth is unreal. So, and think of, their aging talent as well.
That's
It's
a good point,
probably the last... This could be the last series that we...
Down Under, it will be the last time we see Kohli, Sharma,
yep.
likely the last time we see Jadeja, Ashwin.
Yep.
KL Rahul's playing in the twos. Might be the last time he comes down under.
Excellent leaves from him.
Yeah, through his legs. That was a good dismissal. Check that one out if you haven't seen that. KL Rahul against the Australia A. Yeah, so really important for them. We speak ad nauseum on this podcast about their depth.
And they've got plenty of talent.
A part of it is that we've kept a pretty close eye on the IPL over the last 3 or 4 years since talking a lot more cricket. It's kind of scary when you look at their depth. So credit to the Oz A boys for getting them, in back-to-back unofficial test matches. There's going to be a massive changing of the guard after this series as well, or in coming years as well for India in their red ball lineup. So, mate, it's going to have everything. I think this series it's a 5-game series. So previously in Border Gavaskar series down unders, there was they used to go 4 games. So it's good that they've got the 5 these days, and the fact that we haven't beat them at home for over 10 years in a series is. It's going to be a spicy matchup.
From memory, for them to make the World Test Championships, they got to win 4 of these games.
Yeah, I think they're going to win 4-1 or something.
Yeah,
or 4-love
to make that final. So
pressure's on them.
Pressure's on them. So
we then go to Sri Lanka afterwards as well. So, barring some sort of almighty bed shit, we should be playing the World Test Championship.
Yep.
Let's just focus, I suppose. First trying to win this series against the Indians, who are coming into it with a lot of pressure on them after not winning at home against the underdogs in the Black Caps. Any other cricket to talk?
I think that's it at the moment.
WBBL is on at the moment. I did see a lady, I can't remember her name, I do apologise, made 150 in WBBL. So that was the highest score in WBBL history. And then I think it's 12 nights, away from the first test. And the way that it's running is going to be...
It's a flipping schedule.
It's going Perth, it's going day-night Adelaide, it's going Gabba. It's going.
Oh no, I'm thinking
Melbourne.
Ashes is the one that's changed.
And then Ashes next year is going to be. Brisbane's going to get the day-nighter.
Yeah.
So it's getting ahead of yourself, but it's massive. Few summers upcoming.
It'll be interesting because the Lions again are pushing for a new stadium. So I wonder, whether the Gabba by that point will be a cricket-only stadium. And
what's it go? So the Olympics is. They said no, they're not going to touch. Are they going to build a new stadium for the? No,
they're adding stands to that other athletic
one,
and going to run it as is. So, but they again I can't remember the name of the location. I think it's like Victoria Park or something. Like that location's the location for the new stadium, but they just can't get funding for it. So the Lions again are pushing for it. Hey, we just won the comp. Can we get this new stadium rolling again? So there was a bit of talk from the Lions again about pushing potentially to get a new one built.
Nothing being announced just yet from what I can see here. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Now, just briefly, whilst we're on Olympics and whatnot, do you see the Commonwealth Games that get absolutely slashed for their sports? I think they're only going to have 10 sports.
That's our fault, though.
Yeah, Dan Andrews' fault.
And we're still paying for it, which is wild.
Commonwealth Games may not be a thing.
Isn't that bloke getting a statue in Victoria?
I hope not. Hopefully it looks like Dwayne Wade's statue. We'll get to that in a second. All right, summer of cricket is here. The next time we're talking on this podcast, we'll be wrapping up the first test, I believe. So hopefully we're talking about an Aussie win. Absolutely can't wait for it. All right, let's talk some rugby league. Australia has won the Pacific Championships. It was there in Parramatta at Combank Stadium. It looked like it may as well have been somewhere in Tonga with the amount of red and white that was in through the seats. And one of the better atmospheres I think I've seen on telly.
Oh, they get around there
in recent memory. Singing
sure.
the hymns and the crowd noise when Tongans made a line break, and they started off incredibly.
Yep.
They scored first, and it was really the first 30 minutes was back and forward. Footy, and Australia just getting on top just before halftime. I tell you what, that Azai Qatar was pretty good. The Dolphins 7.
Yep.
He's only 20.
Yeah, still wild to think, but yeah, he's definitely the future for them.
Maybe future for New South Wales.
Could be.
Cleary's still got plenty left in him.
Yes.
But I think he's a good 6 or 7 years younger than Nathan Cleary as well. Tell you who else is pretty good, and currently, right in the peak of his career. Tommy Dearden, involved in all 4 Aussie tries, 2 from just dummies and line breaks.
Yeah, the Tongans, I didn't know about Tommy Dearden's dummy.
His pace, man, but as soon as he's in that,
his acceleration, I think, is the main.
Yeah,
throw the dummy and then
takes
off 1 foot, and then he's at full pace.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's his
and that's what breaks the line for him.
The line speed's incredible, and then he's always looking, and when you've got Turbo or Coates to give it off to, and they're pretty handy finishes.
Exactly.
See that second Coates effort where he missed the grounding he dropped it by about 5 centimetres. Yeah. He's a Superman, dude. Yep. I reckon no Mayo, he launched from about 4 metres out, and his whole body was out and just didn't quite get the grounding. But yeah, Tonga really did not do themselves a disservice. Obviously, a tiny island nation. A lot of these boys are New Zealand or Australian born and bred, but obviously their heritage means a lot for them. Yep. And it's made these Pacific Championships pretty interesting, I think, with them knocking off New Zealand and the fact that they did beat Australia just before COVID. I think the back end of 2019. They can mix it with the big boys these days, and this game would have meant a lot to them.
It did raise some questions. What are your thoughts?
About tiers?
No, on the Origin period. What about a tri series? Like you have New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa playoff. Play some games over that same period.
I think then the tiers section needs to come into the same conversation. Because you've got a lot of Origin guys playing for Tonga and for Samoa, which is hard. I don't think. I don't know. There's two ways you approach this. You leave the tiers the way they are with tier 1 Australia, New Zealand, England, and then you could get some island nations playing through that period without their Origin stars.
Yep.
I think that makes them loses its appeal a little bit. I don't think the clubs would be happy with it.
No, well they'd like the rest, but would you do? I guess the thinking is you do less. The Pacific Championship at the end of the season ends up being more in the toll on minus the Australians essentially.
The toll on the players' bodies isn't going to change, is it? Whether or not they're having a little.
But it's in season versus out of season, making the season longer because these guys will finish now and then they'll be in preseason in February.
Their preseason would be now.
A bunch of the team clubs are already training. So.
100%. And they'll have a little break for Christmas and then they're preseason proper. End of Jan, early Feb. So I don't know. It's hard. It's crazy to think that it's mid-November and there's still rugby league being played. But it was a really good product, I thought.
Oh, I agree. And I guess that's kind of where that conversation goes. Can we get more Samoa versus Tonga? Those big games. And again, all against the Kiwis. Because I guess for the Kiwis, they're the guys that will sit out. They don't play in the Origin, fit in there at all. But that again goes back to where do the tier system kind of fit and have, say, the Samoan team elevated themselves high enough that maybe those blokes shouldn't be playing Origin. Then we hurt in Origin, considering it's the big piece. So
I don't think you'll ever hurt Origin. I think you will hurt the international game of rugby league. And we will talk a bit of rugby union on the pod tonight, which is rare for us, but obviously international rugby union alive and well.
Yeah. The only union that's alive and well. The rest of it goes under the radar.
Whereas the international game, I think, would really suffer if they remove the tiers.
Yeah.
Anyways, good product.
It'd be interesting because there's also talk that there's the $380 million bid from the second New Zealand team as well for rugby league. So again, trying to fight into the heartland of rugby union and, potentially steal that talent away. More Kiwi talent is coming into rugby league. So, And then, of course, we've talked about the length of the season and how do we potentially reduce it, kind of make it,
My feeling from a player welfare sort of point of view is that it's too long.
Yeah,
but the dollar always wins as well. Yeah. I'm very acutely aware of that.
And they did get their tax breaks for PNG as well. So, no tax if you play in PNG, which could save you a couple of dollars.
100%. 100%. Having watched the Papua games, the home ones, I still think it's going to be a bit of a challenge to entice some Aussie talent to go over there. But
they'll have no issues for crowds. Yeah,
the crowd's going to be the atmosphere's going to be sick.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be. Can we get people that want to live over there in like a gated community? And they'll have some money.
Money talks, baby. Tax free.
Yep.
Speaking of, New Zealand's playing Papua right now.
I think New Zealand won that game.
Yeah, can you? That should just have finished actually.
Yeah, I'll check it.
8:30 local time here. So the way that this was set up was PNG win the Pacific Cup. They come up and play against New Zealand, who finished third in the Pacific Championships, and there would have been some sort of relegation were the Kiwis to lose.
Yeah, 54-12 final score.
And they did it pretty easy
for the Kiwis. Yeah.
And that, again, is probably, where they need to keep tiers, and not that there's been many Papua players to play Origin, but a massive jump, obviously, between.
Yeah. By all accounts, it looks like Sean Johnson in his final game put on an absolute clinic. So.
Yeah, he sort of unretired himself, didn't he, to come back and play one more or a few more for NZ.
Yep. Yeah, and Casey McLean got 4.
He scored 4. He's 18.
18.
Yeah, and he come in late notice as well. So one to watch for the upcoming seasons, that's for sure.
Yep.
Let's talk some club footy. Ben Hunt.
Well, I think it's mostly Dragons, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're the ones that have had all the interest. Officially terminating Ben Hunt's deal, so he's free. I think by all accounts, he was looking for a club for 2026, and a lot of people were like, "Hey, we don't really want to wait around. You're a bit old for that. You've got all the baggage at the moment." So I think there's enough fallout between him and the Dragons that they're like, "All right, let's clean break." Which good for him. He appeals to clubs. He can be signed right now. They can get at least this year and maybe 2 years out of him.
Yep.
Being 35 and 36, I think will be his 2 seasons.
Yep.
And
he's 34. He's pretty much the same age as me.
Yep. And
what have I done in my life?
And with that, they've got a bit of cash thrown around, so they've now officially signed up the King. Clint Gutherson will go across and join the Dragons.
What number does he wear on his back? That's probably the bigger question.
I've seen a lot of rumours that it's probably going to be 1, and then what do you do with Salone then? You get a more guarantee, more high class fullback.
Yeah, I think the best fullback needs to wear 1.
Yep.
Which at this stage of his career is probably Clint Gutherson.
But what does that do for Salone, who
had his best year, hands down?
But again, 12 months ago, wanted out of the club too. Like, hey,
what kind of message does it send to him?
Yeah, exactly.
I have a feeling Gutho will play 6, and Sloane will play 1 and move Kyle Flanagan to 7.
Yep.
At this stage in November.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to...
Barring any other signings.
Yeah.
It makes, for your best players, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah.
It's a pretty formidable backline with Foul Holmes coming across as well.
Yep.
Damien Cook, it is sad to lose Ben Hunt. He has essentially put that club on his back over the last few years. I think we probably would have had a wooden spoon, if not a couple.
Multiple, yeah.
If it wasn't for Ben Hunt. And it was quite messy, the way that it's all come to an end. But I'm glad they got that it's all done now and it wasn't prolonged into February, March. And for Dozer, hopefully he can go back and have some late career success. I think he might end up with the Broncos. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the rumour, especially with Ezra Mann. He probably misses the season. I think that's likely the suspension. Either hard, like he's going to miss a large chunk of the season either way.
Yeah. Well, he's going to get some kind of criminal charge here, you'd think. So then it's going to be up to the NRL
for how long,
much they sanction him.
Correct. And, with Adam Reynolds' ages and injury history as well, we got plenty of coverage. So I think, they could be 6 and 7. And they don't have an established utility, so realistically, he could also play 9. So there's plenty of room for him to fit in there.
Yep.
I think Titans don't have the salary cap. Dolphins, going back to Katoa, young, probably could use a Ben Hunt to help mentor him.
Yeah, a bit of mentoring.
Yep. So I think they're interested. I think Queensland club makes the most sense for him. He always wanted to go home.
Yep.
But if he can't he wants to play rugby league. I don't think he wants to go to Super League yet.
No, I think he's still good to
I think he wants to play
Super League
in Australia. So he hasn't ruled out the Sydney clubs, and there might be a couple of Sydney clubs that might want to get him in there. Like the Roosters could probably do with another halfback.
Not allowed.
Yeah.
They're like the Chiefs in the NFL. You got to veto. League veto.
Yeah, considering Luke Curry is retiring.
And Sam Walker will miss the first
a large portion of it. So
yeah,
and Cheese is banged up and will miss a large portion of it as well. Like their spine is.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And they've lost a few blokes, and Joseph Suwali we'll get to in a minute. They have a bit of cap room, so there's also that conversation. So yeah, I think Queensland's the preferable spot, but if we can't get a deal done, he can potentially get a Sydney.
Imagine the storyline if he does go back to the Broncos and, after dropping that ball in the grand final, and that will obviously haunt him for the rest of his life.
Yep.
If he went back there, and I don't think they're going to win a comp in the next year or two, but after being
too far away
12 months ago, 12 months ago, if he got them back into sort of top 4, top 6 sort of contention,
at least have a shot at it.
Yeah, that's right. You got to be there, and with Madge there and new look, and I think I hate the Broncos, but for him, it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense, and with that, Walsh also officially signed his 4-year extension as well, so he'll be there long term. They're still trying to sort out Staggs and Cobbo, but Madge, by all sounds, wants all of them. And that's why he signed up for the job. He knows the talent that's there, and he's going to give them the discipline, I think, for what he wants them to be able to see them win. So let's see if that hard-nosed brain of footy brings it back to the promised land. Throwing in a veteran like Ben Hunt, who's been there, done that, won plenty of things, won lots of origins. You can't deny the extra veteran leadership he could add to that club.
100%. Want to talk some Wallabies?
Yeah, let's do it.
They beat England. Awesome news to wake up to. I watched the highlights, and first half pretty much on top, and then England just come back with a vengeance. And then there was like 3 tries in the last 4 minutes of this game. So we went over to get the lead. Then England crossed over from short distance in like 78th minute. And you're like, fuck, here we go again. There's going to be another Wallabies heartbreaker. And then the boys looked like they did about 3 or 4 phases trying to set up for a long field goal because they were down 2 to try and win it. And then they spun it out to the left, and Max Jurgensen leaps over in the 84th minute.
Good flick pass, and then runs down the sideline and
good
leaps
pace
over.
from him
to
finish it. And he saw the camera as well and launched himself in front of however many thousand at Twickenham. And the Wallabies end up with their first win against England since 2015, which is incredible. And that man that you just mentioned, Joseph Suaalii, gets his man of the match in his rugby union debut.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff on the socials. It's like, is he the greatest union player of all time kind of thing already? They've already...
Start squeezing the mayo on there.
Exactly.
Well, for the amount of money that he's going to get paid, he's going to need to live up to some sort of hype, isn't he?
Considering he hasn't played any rugby up to that point, and then gets straight...
He's a rugby junior.
He was a rugby junior, but it's been a little while.
No professional rugby, that's for sure.
Correct. And then, no club footy leading into it, just straight into the Wallabies. Kind of, I guess, shows maybe like a talent, a little challenge of talent there is in the union at the moment. But we know what class kind of athlete that
he's incredible athlete and strong. And
that's probably all they asked him to do, is just go out there, be amazing.
He actually set up the first try with his offload. I think defended reasonably well. It does sort of beg the question, because Suaalii, great outside back in rugby league, but you probably wouldn't have him in the top 5 to 10 outside backs in rugby league at the moment. No. So it makes you wonder, how would a Tommy Turbo or a Fit Latrell or something look with 12 or 13 on their back for the Wallabies? Obviously a long history of league to union converts, and
Yep.
particularly works with outside backs
Oh,
as
definitely.
well. So wishing him all the best. And obviously we're more league oriented on this podcast. You know, it's a massive effort from the rest of the Wallabies there to win.
Beating England and anything is always good.
Yeah, 100%. Now, it might be lit off as well because Ireland's just been beaten by the All Blacks. Ireland is the number one team in world rugby at the moment.
Wow.
If we can beat Ireland, then we probably really should beat Wales and Scotland.
Yep.
So people are talking about maybe a Grand Slam in the spring tour. We won't jump the gun just yet, but it's an excellent start for the Wallabies in their spring tour.
James is asking, did the NRL fix the Wallabies with Swali? I don't think they'd want to fix it. They'd happily see it die, so they have no competition.
Direct competitors.
Yeah. But
Mind you, if school rugby died in Australia, so that's one thing that's going very well is private school rugby.
Yes.
League would lose half of its players,
Yeah.
so probably don't want that part of it to die. But obviously the
breeding
code,
ground.
league probably winning the code war in recent memory. But this is
especially Clubland, yeah, definitely.
well, this is big for the Wallabies and for fans of Australian rugby. After only winning the one game, in the what's the Southern Hemisphere comp called? The one game against Argentina through our winter time. And you just think, oh, geez, here we go again.
When's their World Cup? Did they have a World Cup
last year? Yeah, it was about this time last year. South Africa went back to back.
That's right.
Over there. So the next World Cup's here as well in
And that's
2027. So
a couple of years.
Yeah, so
Bring in these. Well, they've gone very young with the squad, so eye to the future. So we'll see how that plays out in the next couple of years.
see how the Suali'i Joe Schmidt era
Maybe
goes.
finally win a let us know.
Right, let's pump the brakes. Let's talk some NFL. Hey?
He broke his ankles.
Do you want to talk MVP first? That man, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
He's
if he doesn't get hurt, it's his.
Yeah, they played Thursday night, so they had the most recent game playing against the Bengals.
They have had
and that was
two crackers against the Bengals, haven't they?
and they were down 3 scores. I think it was 21-7 going into fourth quarter.
Yeah,
and
2 scores. Yeah.
they came back and won that game. He threw 4 touchdowns and run a bunch as well. He's just unreal. I think
these are
he's
his numbers at the
24.
moment. This is his
24
passing
touches.
numbers. So if he didn't run the football, based on his passing numbers, he's probably the MVP.
Well,
He's
Joe
got-
Barrow is actually also very similar as well.
throw more
from
picks.
More picks, but very similar in yards and touchdowns. So.
This is Lamar's season throwing the ball so far 2,669 yards, completing at 69%, 24 touchdowns, 2 intercepts, quarterback ratings 123.
Can you just sort that on TDs for me?
Yeah, so it's him and Burrow equal with 24.
And then Baker is the interesting one there.
Yeah.
But I think
something seriously wrong would have to happen to Lamar for
Yes.
Baker to come out and win the MVP. this year.
And I think it's probably a difference in where their teams are at as well. Whereas the Ravens are going gangbusters, as you will, and the Buccaneers are kind of still trying to compete in that division. Very banged up, of course, in their wide receiver room. But yeah, I think Baker has been having an unreal season. But like you said, Lamar is heads and above everyone else, besides maybe Derrick Henry.
Yeah, well, we've already established on this podcast before that the only people that can win the MVP these days is the quarterback. I was having a look at odds. Derrick Henry is a short price favourite to win the offensive player of the year. I've actually got this tab open. I think he's $1.67, Saquon at $3.60, and then Jamar Chase at 9s.
Yep.
But yeah, I think more than likely we see, barring injuries, Lamar Jackson MVP, Derrick Henry offensive player of the year. That Ravens offense is rolling.
What's Derrick got out of the middle? 12 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards.
Yep.
I think
6.1 yards per carry as well. It's incredible for a 250-pound running back.
But having said that, if he gets 24 touchdowns and over 2,000 yards, that's LT numbers.
Yeah. He should win it. You know my view on this. He probably should win it if that's what his year is. But also the counter argument to that is Lamar is having a way better year statistically than what he has
last year.
Both years that he won the MVP.
Yeah.
He's on track for 40 touchdowns, 4 picks, 1,000 rushing yards, 10 rushing touchdowns. probably doesn't really matter how good a season the King has if that's the numbers that he finishes with.
King would have to break a record of some,
Yeah.
most rushing touchdowns or most rushing yards in the season to get in the conversation, which is unfortunate. But yeah,
It's a bit scary that the best player and probably the second best player in the league right now, definitely the best at their positions, are on the same team.
yep. And how did they lose the Browns last week? I do not fucking know.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Let's talk.
Their defense is probably their weakness, which is rare for the Ravens. But yeah, I think that is the case at the moment.
Let's
their
talk.
defense isn't as good.
Let's talk a bit of AFC North because the Steelers have sort of been flying under the radar too, off some pretty reasonable defensive play. TJ Watt is the favourite for Defensive Player of the Year by his lofty standards. From a numbers standpoint, probably not going insane. 6.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. His turnover ability is uncanny. But there's certainly...
But is he like 5 sacks behind the leader at the moment?
Trey Hendrickson,
Yeah.
11 sacks, 12 tackles for loss on a Bengals defense, which has been pretty ordinary overall. So maybe that plays into it. Steelers defense is good.
Yep.
Hendrickson has the numbers, but the Bengals defense...
TJ Watt's also got
very bad.
the name in the history, so there is
100%,
that
yeah.
too. So yeah, and they just added they got Highsmith, but they just added Preston Smith as well. I think from Green Bay.
Yep. So both former Smithers, both former Smiths that used to play for Green Bay have both been moved on because Za'Darius was also traded, but he hasn't been at Green Bay this season.
No, yeah, but he just got traded to the Lions.
Lions.
Yes. Yeah.
So all that's.
But I'm just saying that the pass rushing talent of the Steelers is very good.
very good, and their defense is good, and
Yes.
we're definitely going to see 2 teams go out of the AFC North. I reckon we may see 3.
It might be, yeah. Well, those Bengals, it might
They
be
must
really hard for them from here. 'cause
They're at the
4-6.
They're at the Chargers next week. They have to They have to win from now on. It's crazy given how good Burrow's play's been, given how good Jamar Chase has
yep.
been.
Yeah. They've just lost too many games. It's a tough league.
Big time. Jamar Chase, 66 catches, 981 yards, 10 touchdowns. Had one of the all-time fantasy games in their devastating loss
Yeah, I
on
think it
Thursday Night
was
Football.
3rd overall in the last 10 years.
It's 55 points PPR or thereabouts. Some good memes getting around, Facebook mark safe in fantasy against Jamar Chase, etc.
I think they were saying, I think this is the numbers on it as well. Since he entered the league, there's been 5 50-point scores. He's got 3 of them. So, yeah, he's
him.
He's him. Unreal talent.
The team that is not him, but managed to beat the Ravens somehow, the Browns, they're in tank mode. So just spoke about Za'Darius Smith getting traded. Amari Cooper as well has been traded since our last pod. He's had a couple games for the Bills now. Miles Garrett stays put, despite all the trade rumours.
I think they were asking everything for him. So
You'd want everything.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone was coming to that price tag. They were like, no, thank you.
He's very good.
He is very good, yes, but to give up that amount, maybe not so much.
So the AFC North looks fun. The AFC East does not look fun other than the Bills. Josh Allen probably hasn't played bad, but he's probably just moved out of the MVP conversation just because of how good Lamar has been.
And I think his ever-changing wide receiver room probably has limited him a little bit because they've all been banged up. Like Coleman, I think, is going to miss this week, and Cooper's coming back from injury, and then the other guys, Samuel and
Shaquille.
Yeah, they've both been banged up with injuries, so that limits him a little bit. But he's doing his best.
He's still second favourite to win the MVP at $4.50.
They're still 7-2, so you know they're still getting along. And in that division, I don't think they've got any challenges. The Patriots, young team, rookie team.
Drake May's been okay.
He's been good, yeah, but you're not expecting them to do anything this year.
No, they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah. Dolphins, are only just getting Tua back, and they're
They're
broken without him essentially.
Bad losses, man, with him back as well. I think both games are lost by 3 points. Bills and Cards. I think that's probably curtains on their season.
2-6, they're a long way away.
What's going on with Tyreek as well? Tua's back and he isn't doing anything.
Don't know.
He's the number 1 player in the league according to his colleagues.
Yeah, Tua's numbers haven't been down, but I wonder if they're just. Again, the 5-step drops, sitting in the pocket a bit extra long, where they're trying to protect him a little bit so he can't get any of those deep shots to Tyreek. But you think you'd feed him on as well. They have been going a little bit run heavy as well.
Yeah.
With
A-Chan looked good against Bills.
Yep. So, it's a little bit about you want to protect Tua for the long term not just especially in a season like this, you don't want to have him taking heaps of shots when it's not necessary.
If they lose a few more games, if they're
Shut him down.
2-8, yeah, do you reckon?
100%.
Yeah, just say that's it for the year.
Yeah,
Yep.
at this stage, he's kind of like barely get touched, and he's taking shots that other guys just got on the chin, and he's spending weeks on the sideline. So you want rest, recuperation for him. So if you're not in playoff contention, sit him down.
Agreed. Jets in a bit of a hole, 3-6. The firing of Robert Saleh hasn't really gone their way just yet, but they're starting to get a bit of momentum going. They look good in that win against the Texans. Devontae Adams comes across, so that is news since our last pod. I think
had a quiet first game, and then it was good.
We were talking about he was.
It was most likely going to happen, and Mike Williams was most likely going to be traded, and both those things have happened.
Yep.
So Mike Williams actually goes over to the Steelers that we just mentioned.
Yep.
Because that fits perfectly with what they want to do, which is run the ball, play action, and throw deep. And they've got Pickens and Williams on either side, so that'll work well for theirs. For the Jets, I just don't think defensively they've been that good. Which the talent source is getting picked on.
Yeah.
Which you consider rare, and I don't think their pass rush is really helping them out. So, and I don't think Rodgers has been bad, but they're chasing more than they're leading at this stage.
Mm-hmm. Garrett Wilson's been good.
Yeah.
That catch was
the Jordan catches, Air Jordan catches, you will.
Looks exactly like the Jordan logo. If you haven't seen that, check it out. Garrett Wilson against the Texans.
And he's been really good this year as well. So, I think they're just too far, and they're probably just too far away in that division now being 3-6.
What about the AFC West? So your Broncos play in this division. It is fun. The Chiefs still haven't lost. When you watch them, they don't look like the high-powered Chiefs that they used to be. Obviously, their defense is probably keeping them in a lot of games.
Did I look at the Chiefs' schedule?
Bring it up.
I'll have a quick bring it up for you because I feel like they haven't faced anyone real yet, if that makes sense.
Their defense is allowing 18.4 points per game, which is fourth best in the league.
Mahomes hasn't been Mahomes, and they've been struggling with their own wide receiver talent as well with injuries. I guess, they beat the Ravens opening week, followed by Bengals.
Yep.
Falcons, Chargers, Saints, nothing really to write home about, but they beat 49ers, beat the Bucks, Tampa Bay, and Raiders are in there. So, they're beating the teams that are in front of them. So you can't deny that. And they'll take on Denver in the morning.
At Buffalo in 2 weeks' time, maybe that might be a good litmus test.
Good chest. Yeah, and see how Hopkins, and I think they haven't gone back to their old kind of offense, but they've moved back from wide receiver heavy to more Kels heavy.
Yeah,
he's
last
getting
2
a
weeks.
lot more targets. But they're bringing Hopkins up to speed as well, and he seems like they'll get him more involved as we go. But
he looked like old D-Hop.
Yeah, he's going to have Satan in the morning, so we'll see. That's a juicy kind of matchup. See how that plays out. But, their run game, their offensive line just hasn't been as good. I think their defense is really what's keeping them in the games. Considering, I think statistically, Bo Nix is having a better season than Mahomes is at the moment.
Well, that's a good little segue into your Broncos. They're 5-4. He's not turning it over too much. He's good with his legs. Are you liking what you're seeing as a Broncos fan?
I definitely do. It's very interesting watching the casual meter take that, he's a really good runner. I think he's actually a really good scrambler. He's actually been playing a lot better out of the pocket and just he avoids sacks like anything, and then he turns those missed sack opportunities into run meters, and he's got a bit of pace to him. So did score a receiving touchdown on the weekend as well. I think he's the first player in a very long time to have a receiving, running, and passing touchdown all in the same season.
Same game?
Or did he might have even got it in the same game. Yeah, he could be right.
I think he did.
Yeah, so, I think he's an impressive talent, and he fits the scheme perfectly for what Sean Payton wants to do. I think we just struggle for wide receiver talent and running back talent at the moment, and our defense is playing pretty well, but, maybe a little bit mismatched against the Ravens a week ago. But who isn't?
Yeah. I've got your schedule here, so obviously
gets a bit softer going forward, which is good.
Yeah, very tough game tomorrow. But then you go Atlanta, Vegas, Cleveland into your bye. So
Colts,
certainly
Chargers.
some winnable. Yeah, It's just hard to finish. So the last 3 games at Chargers, at Bengals, Chiefs at home.
Yep.
So definitely need to win those winnable games in the coming month. That's for sure.
I still feel like they're a 9-7 team. So, that's from this point, that's going 500 essentially. And, Kansas is going to be tough. I think they could beat Atlanta based on defensive play. Should beat Vegas and Cleveland.
Yeah, they should really win 3 games there. Yeah,
and probably should have beat the Chargers in that first game, but we'll have them at home. So that there, and then hopefully jag one of those last 2 to potentially win a wild card spot.
Yeah, I think they win 8 games here, finding 9 and 10 looking there when they've got to play the Chiefs twice and go at Bengals, at Chargers. I don't know.
Beat them last year.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
This morning will be a good challenge for them.
100%.
So it'll be a good litmus test of like where they fit against the Chiefs. I'd say unders in that, probably a defensive battle, that one.
Speaking of in division, their most direct rivals are going to be the Chargers, who are 5-3, and from a points per game basis, do have the best D in the league. They're only allowing 12.6.
Yeah, unsurprised being a hardball team, and I think they're starting to let Herbert open up a little bit, which is good to see. He was banged up at the start of the year, so
yep.
They're getting some of their receiving talent back. They're getting Johnson more involved. Ladma, how do you say his last name? McConkey is
he looks good.
He's coming along leaps and bounds for them. So
these rookie wideouts are looking real nice. I suppose Marvin Harrison's, just from expectation, has been a touch unders.
Yeah.
Neighbours looks legit. Brian Thomas looks legit. There's definitely some good ones that are coming out in this draft class. Yeah, exactly. And Lad McConkey being one of them.
Yep. So I think they're going to be a competitive team. They get the Ravens, I think, in a couple next week. I think that's Ravens' next game, isn't it?
I'll get their schedule here. LA Chargers. Okay, so versus Tennessee, versus Cincinnati, versus Baltimore. Okay, so really need to win tomorrow against Tennessee because this is interesting. Okay, yeah. So Tennessee, they really should win tomorrow, but then Cincinnati, Baltimore, at Atlanta, at Kansas City, Tampa, Denver, and they finish with New England and Las Vegas. So should win their last 2, but they've got a sort of 5-6 week run there of really hard games.
Yep.
So it may drop off a little bit. That defense is going to be tested by a few of those high-powered offenses, that's for sure.
Yeah, and they've had the opposite. So they've had the easier schedule. So they've had Panthers, Saints, Arizona, and Raiders in there to start with. Browns. So, yeah.
Speaking of Browns, they're done. Raiders.
Yep.
Just trying to segue, it didn't work. Finishing off the AFC West, they're in tank mode.
Yeah, they're trying to get Sanders tank mode, I think is the angle.
Do you think that's the play?
By all accounts, he wants to play in Las Vegas, as a list of teams that I want to play for.
Travis Hunter might be the best player in college football.
True. But they need a quarterback.
Yep.
They're not going to roll out Seth again for another year. They did fire a whole bunch of their offensive coaching staff as well during the week. They're definitely struggling. They're all sorts. So, and they've got a really tough run coming up. I think they'll be picking in the top 5 definitely.
I want to see who actually is the favourite. Yeah, Sanders at $4. Hunter's $4.80, Cameron Ward $6.75 to be the number 1 draft pick, and then it drops off a fair bit. So
it'll be an interesting draft process running into that because Ward's been playing really well, but Sanders gets all the hype because of the name and all that there. So really test him physically will be quite interesting. It'll be really interesting if he partakes in any of that stuff, or whether he just lets his play speak for itself. But yeah. I think quarterbacks usually go early, as we saw this year. I think Travis Hunter will be there, but he.
What position is he going to play? Is he going to play receiver? Or is he going to play corner?
Well, is he going to play both?
I don't think he'll do that in the NFL.
We'll see. I'm not going to rule it out at this stage.
That's right. AFC South, bit of a doo-doo division. The Texans 6-3. They play the Lions on Sunday Night Football. Do you reckon they're good? Do you reckon they're
injured?
Yeah.
Their line's banged up. Their receiving core is banged up. They've lost Diggs for the year. Collins, a little good for them. He should be back, but might be a little bit limited in this game. But yeah, and their defense is not as impressive as it was last year. And, you know, whether Will Anderson's kind of got some niggles and is it Singletary? No. Stingley? Whatever they're called.
Stingley.
Yeah. The corner, you know, hasn't been playing up to the kind of level they were last year as Rooks. Or maybe they exceeded expectations last year and they maybe
I think it's just
meeting where
that's right.
You know,
and CJ Stroud was so good as a rookie.
Yeah.
I think he might be having a little bit of second year fever.
Yeah, but you know they're gonna
second year syndrome.
They'll probably get out of their division. It's poo otherwise.
I don't think they're getting out of. I don't think they're going to have any trouble winning the AFC South. I'm talking about can they bother anyone come January? That's probably where
I doubt it.
Where I'm getting at.
Yeah, I doubt it if they have to run into like a Ravens or Chiefs team.
Yeah, this is the worst. Oh no, the AFC East is high. The AFC South and the AFC East. It's definitely the Texans and Bills getting out, and the rest playing for next year. I'd say
because Colts, you know, they've benched their half rookie quarterback.
Yes,
and
sophomore.
Yeah.
What do you reckon the goes with him? Because he's completing at like 48%. Obviously, he's got a cannon, but accuracy is not there.
Yeah.
Do you think a team throws him a lifeline next year, or will he just join the list of people that plays 10 odd NFL games?
Or do we wait? Do we wait? And you know, try to develop him because because of this story that, you know, he's been benched for Flacco. There's been a lot of conversation about quarterback development, and because you look at say Trevor Lawrence in that group of quarterbacks, not a lot of them are with their. I think Lawrence is the only one still current with his current team. All the other ones from that draft like that first round, are all with other clubs. So you know, it's really hard to get a good quarterback. There's a lot of conversations that agents are telling players to stay in college longer, get more experience instead of coming out early, because you're not going to get the learning curve in the NFL because you've got to win now. There's too much of the head coaches are on the hot seat. They got to win now, and they can't develop you as much as you could in the past. I know Tom Brady's talked about it as well. About, you know, they don't get that amount of learning. They don't understand. You know, the game's not understood as well as it was in the past. And you know, you look at some of the things with Derek Carr throwing into double coverage for Olave, sending him to the hospital years later. And Tom's talking about, you know, I knew when not to throw passes because I knew it was going to injure my players. Not taking those sorts of risks. You know, that level, you know, we're talking about the go-to though, but that level is the you know, learning curve you want to get to, and you just don't get that coming out of college.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much pressure to win now, as you say. Just speaking quickly on Derek Carr, to see Michael Thomas and his Twitter rant.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, not very happy about how Olave ended up in hospital again. We'll get to them in a second. That 2021 draft class, Trevor Lawrence obviously went first there. Quarterbacks include Zach Wilson, not with his team. Trey Lance barely played in the NFL. Justin Fields, not with the Bears. Mac Jones, not with the Patriots. Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond, Davis Millis, Ian Book.
Kyle Trask, I think, still at Tampa, so there you go.
Yeah, but not a start.
He's not.
So,
but he's a second rounder. So of the first rounders, they're all gone.
Or of the whole draft class as well, Trevor Lawrence is the only one that's still a starter with his team.
Yep.
Which you can say what you want about talent in a draft.
And that's only 3 years.
Class.
Like it's
these
guys are still they're just coming out of their rookie deals. So it's very hard. And you know, we're seeing some excellent talent from this year's quarterback class. But and you say a lot of those guys played a fair bit of college football. You know, you go back to Bo Nix, he played the most.
Yep.
And I think it's actually played really well for him because he's showing that he's understanding the scheme that Sean Payton wants to run. So it's very different than. So Anthony Richardson, who was a freak athlete on a one year wonder year, essentially. And if you look at him compared to, I'm now going to have a mind blank on his name. What's the Pats quarterback? Not
Drake May?
Not Drake May, the other one.
Jacoby Brissett?
No, the other one.
Tom Brady?
No, the one that the other rook that's where what's his name? The big dude.
From this
From this draft, yeah.
With the cannon. I'll find it.
Just go Pat's depth chart for us.
Yep.
Or Pat's quarterbacks. But my point is, they have a very Joe Milton, the third. They have a very similar athletic profile, and statistically, Joe Milton was better in college. Yes, you can probably see that Richardson probably had better vision overall than Milton did in their games they played in college, but he went pick 4 versus Milton, who went round 6, 5 or 6. So, whether he was just so overdrafted, it comes into that conversation. But yeah, really a one-year wonder there for the Gators. 17 touchdowns, 9 intercepts. We did run for 600 yards and get the 9 touchdowns. But,
their record was 6-6.
Yeah, and you go back to Milton, he threw 24 touchdowns, I think. Had less running yards.
That's a good point you make.
But the overall size and arm strength, it was all roughly the same.
Yep.
I think, running the 4-4 threw him up in the conversation.
Yeah, it's just a freak athlete.
Yeah. And he's also, they got a new coaching staff this year, don't they? So not the guys that drafted him originally. That's the thing, not for long league, and you might end up like Trey Lance, who's a bit of a project and gets traded to another team that maybe can sit and learn. We'll see. But yeah, the recommendation as a quarterback, get your college years in, enjoy your college, get a degree, and then go to the NFL.
Finishing off the AFC South, Titans 2-6. Their defense is actually not too bad. Their passing offense has been horrendous.
Yeah. Well, they traded away their 2 best offensive players.
Yeah, they're playing for next season. And the Jags also pretty ordinary at 2-7.
Yeah, I think Levis is back this week. And Lawrence, I think, looks like he's going to miss. Mac Jones might play for the Jags.
I was wondering who their backup was.
Yeah, so which is quite interesting. There hasn't been a lot of talk about that, but I'm pretty sure the reports that are coming out of Lawrence is going to miss. So probably wouldn't play any of the Jags guys in fantasy against who they got. They got Vikings this week.
Yeah, I think it is the Vikings. They're in big trouble, I would say.
Yeah, and still a lot of questions about Lawrence. Like, he's not setting the world on fire. He's not
bad,
bad, but he's not good.
This season. He looked good last year, ish.
That's the thing. He's in that ish category
for a number 1 pick.
Football Jesus, unfortunately, might need a bit of a rebirth.
Let's jump over to the NFC. A team that is flying in the NFC East is the Commanders, 7-2. Jaden Daniels is the Rookie of the Year. Again,
barring any
injuries. His quarterback rating's just a tick under 107. He's on pace for 900 to 1,000 rushing yards. And the Commanders are looking like a bit of a juggernaut.
Mm-hmm. Can he steal the MVP from Lamar?
I don't think so.
My only question,
if Lamar got hurt,
but because they're comparable as types of players, like he might end up with more rush yards and more rush touchdowns than Lamar does this season.
Yeah,
I guess the passing numbers will play into it, but he's been unreal for them.
He's nowhere near from a sheer numbers standpoint. He's nowhere near Lamar.
I was asking you to see if he was.
I'll give him to you.
I think he's 12 touchdowns or something passing.
He's not 24-2. That's for sure.
Is he? He's I can just see he's down. He's not in the.
He's thrown 9 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah.
Has 700 yet less passing yards, and his rating is 17 lower.
Yeah. I'm not saying the rookie's going to win the MVP. He's growing though, and I think the Commanders are really happy with where they're at.
Fucking oath.
They just traded for Lattimore from Saints as well, so helping the secondary. I think they're really good, and him and Scary Terry have been an excellent combination.
Eagles are looking pretty good. They're 6-2.
They get Pittsburgh, don't they? They're playing Pittsburgh tomorrow.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So tough outing for them.
Yeah, we're just talking about TJ Watt and the numbers maybe not being MVP caliber or Defensive Player of the Year caliber, I should say. That's a good chance for the Steelers to maybe put an end to the rapid ascension of this Commanders offense. Eagles
could go the other way.
Well, that's true. Yeah, they can go out there and keep rolling and putting up big scores.
That should be a good football game, that one.
Eagles 6-2. That Saquon backwards hurdle, is that the most athletic thing that you've ever seen on a football field?
Yeah, I'd say
I can't think of anything else.
I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Not quickly, but yeah, it's definitely top
You
five.
you see guys doing like front flips into the end zone, or some of like the Odell Beckham catch comes to mind.
Like you have some freaky catches, and
but in terms of sheer athleticism, to be able to propel yourself backwards over a defender who's like completely standing up trying to whack you, to have the vision and the explosiveness to do that.
To understand he's there.
After you just put someone in the spin cycle.
Yeah.
It's up there with the most athletic thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's top 5. If it's not number 1, it's top 5.
Yeah. Oh, I don't doubt it's top 5. I'm just trying to think of. I've definitely seen some Barry Sanders and LT moments that of pure athletic ability. You go, those guys are god tier, and I think for what we've seen, I think it's unreal. I did see some guys trying to copy it in high school football and getting turned into windmills.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying it.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, it's not something you want to do often. So
no.
Yeah. But the big news for them is Hurts is likely to miss. They were talking about rest day. There's a big, miscommunication on the is he dealing with an ankle? Is he not dealing with an ankle? There's some rumors that Kenny Pickett might get actually the start in the morning, but nothing's been confirmed for them. But yeah, there's some concern there for Jalen.
Should we talk about the Cowboys?
We fucking suck.
So if you haven't seen it, Dak Prescott, you don't have to be an elite lip reader to see him on the sideline saying we fucking suck after their loss last weekend, and it looks like he's going to have surgery on his hammy. He might be done for the year. Yeah,
there were early reports yesterday about he's probably going to IR for the hamstring. He's been getting reports and stuff like that, and then reports today where he's going to need surgery, which would be season ending, which is huge for the Cowboys. They'll have to play Cooper Rush going forward. But yeah, their team,
he's a handy backup.
Yeah, he's a handy backup, but he's
not Dak Prescott.
Yeah, he doesn't put up the same sort of numbers that Dak does. And I don't know. That team seems like they completely missed on Derrick Henry. They should have paid for him.
Yep.
And they've got no running
Henry's
back.
Making $8 million or something this year. It's like fucking chump change for the season that he's having.
Yeah, and then I think that ended up being a 5th round pick that they traded for Mingo. So they got Mingo from the Panthers to come across.
Yay!
Exactly. Yay! And CeeDee Lamb's dealing with a AC sprain in his shoulder. Their defense has been absolute poo-poo since Dan Quinn's gone to the Commanders. So, definitely coaching talent. So, and they've missed Micah. Micah hasn't played much this year.
Been banged up in that regard.
Yeah. So there's that, but I think they're just lacking talent that they maybe had in recent years.
Per Schefter, Dak Prescott to undergo season-ending surgery on his partially torn hamstring. That's interesting. I would have thought you'd need to have a full tear to go the surgical route. They might be looking, they're 3 games behind the Eagles, they're 4 games behind the Commanders. The NFC is pretty stacked in other divisions. They might be thinking about next year.
Yeah, and maybe that's why the surgery, maybe thinking more long-term, Dak getting a bit older. It's just like, we'll go in there, clean it up so he doesn't have hamstring injuries going forward. But I'm not a surgeon, so I wouldn't know what they're potentially in there. Already putting in some.
Definitely come across as a surgeon or a sports medicine doctor sometimes in the group chat. That's for sure.
Dr. Nick.
The sticky things connected to my wristwatch. They're the last team in the NFC East, the Giants. Their season's done. They've lost 4 in a row. Their offense has been horrible. Probably the talking point is Daniel Jones and his future.
They've paid him
big money. So
it was the same with Igor Brands and Deshaun Watson. They've signed him up to huge deals that they're going to have to take massive amounts of dead cap, like Denver's doing this year, to be able to, take that hit and then hopefully draft another rookie dude. Hope he's good, and they can cover you for 3 to 4 years. Otherwise, you'd be looking for another string of head coaches to go through that spot.
To Daniel Jones' credit, his play hasn't been quite as bad as what Deshaun Watson's was prior to him getting benched, but it hasn't been great.
No. He threw his first touchdown in primetime in like 3 years or some shit like that.
And it was his first touchdown at the Meadowlands this season.
Yeah. Well,
and it was going back to like halfway through last year. Yeah, hasn't been going too good, old Daniel Jones, although you look at what Saquon's doing at the Eagles and you think, geez, could we have just...
Again, why didn't they pay him? Yeah. Like another conversation. They're like... Because they did Hard Knocks, didn't they?
Yeah.
But anyway, there's vision of the GM basically saying this is one place I don't want him to go is Philadelphia. That's where he went. And realistically, I think for what they were wanting to offer him, it was only a couple mil more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not much.
It's not like they're paying everyone else shitloads over there. So
also is testament to the Philadelphia Eagles' offensive line and their scheme and
Yes.
Jalen Hurts and the offense functioning as a unit rather than just Saquon just trying to have to carry them completely.
do get the Panthers in the morning, so maybe they'll get a win.
Germany, thanks for giving us this game.
Man, I don't know how they figure it out, but they always take the shittest games to Europe.
What did we do to deserve this game? You know what? It's a meme. It's just a meme. NFC West, this is actually looking like a pretty fun division.
Very close.
Cardinals are at top, 3 straight wins. They're 5-4, and then everyone's
been good.
Yeah, everyone's around 500. Rams 4-4, Niners 4-4. Seahawks have actually going the other way. Yeah. They're 4-5. DK might be back in the morning. Yeah, what do you make of this division?
Well, I think Rams and 49ers have the same problem. They've been banged up. For the Rams, it's been their wide receiver room. They're now getting healthy. And for the 49ers, same sort of thing, missing CMC, and their wide receiver room has been banged up. And Debo, I think, will play. And, of course, Ayuk's done for the year. Yep. We'll see what CMC can do back today, whether they give him a full workload or give him, say, 10 touches.
I think they might load manage him a little bit.
Yeah, you'd think so, but they've got a tough kind of I would say this is a high-scoring game against the Bucks. Bucks like to score points. So we'll see how they go. But I think they're starting to right where they need to go, and that's be healthy and go that way. Seahawks, I just don't think they're anything amazing. They've missed DK for a little while. Smith and Jigba's been good, but
he lit up that game last week.
Yeah, but defensively, again another team that's just there. They're fighting at the 500 and fighting for a wild card spot. Just
back to the 49ers, they're paying $6 to win the NFC. That's equal second with Philadelphia. I feel like that's way too short. And then I've just seen their upcoming schedule. Their next 4 weeks is at Tampa versus Seattle, at Green Bay, at Buffalo. I don't think they should be the second shortest team in the NFC.
And they've still got Lions and you got to play Lions, Rams, and Cards in the back end of that too.
Yeah, there's not many gimmicks.
They've got a tough run home.
The Chicago at home and how dreadful they've been on the road, they really should win that. At Miami, especially if Tua's done by then, they probably should win that.
Yeah, or maybe they've right the ship. Like maybe they're back to them good Miami. We'll see. Yeah. But it's
you look at that schedule and there's no
they're not playing Panthers, Browns, and
there's not heaps of
in a row.
Tick it off. Correct. So, they're going to need CMC to come back and hit the ground running. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fun division, the NFC West. Really, could be anyone's.
Yeah, the North's where it's at though.
Yeah, the best division in football, baby. The Lions are the best team in the NFC. They're $3 to be the NFC champs. No one's questioning that. I don't think they might be the best team in the league. Mm-hmm. Sunday Night Football, they play at Houston tomorrow, so that'll be a good test. I think the Lions should knock
50 on them probably.
Yeah, their offense has been incredible. Yeah. They beat my pack last week. It was pretty ordinary conditions there at Lambeau. Jordan Love did look a little bit banged up, so they're gone into a bye week, I think, when they need it.
Yep.
And the Vikings 6-2, they're looking pretty good. Justin Jefferson is still him. Mm-hmm. And their next 3 games, they go on the road for 3, but it's Jags, Titans, Bears.
Yep.
So I think all 3 teams are getting out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say so.
I don't think the Bears are.
No, they're the Dave Grohls. They've only beaten teams that have 1-5. So
yeah. And they've all their wins are at home. They're 0-4 on the road. Caleb Williams looking okay. I think a lot for Bears fans to be hopeful for.
Yep.
But I don't think it's playoff football this season. No. The NFC South, the Falcons are starting to look like the best team in this division. They're 2 games ahead of the Bucks now. They've won 5 from the last 6. Kirk Cousins is starting to cook, and we're finally starting to see what we thought Bijan Robinson could be. That's for sure.
Yeah, agree. And they're pretty healthy. London did get hurt. I'm not sure if he's playing.
I think he's okay. Yeah,
I think he's okay.
He might be no good for tomorrow, but I don't think it's
Mooney's been good for them.
He's been sneaky good. Yeah,
been really good.
There's been shades of Kyle Pitts. There's no consistency for fantasy owners, but there's been shades.
Yeah, I think again another team that their defense will only take them so far.
Their secondary's good on
secondary's
paper.
good,
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. They're going to have to get into a few shootouts, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Speaking of shootouts, this team...
Same for the Bucks.
Yeah, they're shootout specialists.
And the problem is they're now lacking talent on the outside to be able to do the shootouts. Should have Mike Evans back next week.
Yeah, so they didn't IR him. So hammy, so you're thinking 3 weeks, because if it was 4+, they would have IR'd him.
Yeah.
I've got some stocks in him in fantasy, so hoping it's not too long. Godwin is done. He had that nasty fracture dislocation of his tib fib.
Yeah. I think Evans also has to average like 100 receiving yards a game to hit his 1,000 mark again.
Yeah,
so
this is interesting. Hey, so
it's not out of the question, but yeah,
it's going to be his hardest.
Yeah, but
run at him.
Godwin's gone for the year. Kate Otten is essentially receiver 1 for them at the moment.
He's been sneaky good, man.
He's
like a top 5 tight end.
Yep. And McMillan, I think, is the young rook who's kind of picking up the slack there as well.
Yeah, although it hasn't gone gangbusters given his opportunity the last few weeks.
670 odd he needs.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Mike Evans. He's currently on 335 yards. It's so nice looking at his career. Just the durability, for one. The least games that he's played in a season was 2019, where he played 13. And obviously that incredible record of never going under 1,000 yards.
So how many games are left? We've got 6?
No, there's more than that. So it's week 10. They've already had their bye.
Yeah, so
he's
have
got
7
8.
more games. 7 or 8 more games?
Yeah, including this week.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
But he won't play.
He'll play. So
he might play 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So he needs about 100 a game.
Yeah. Doable.
For my fantasy team, let's go.
Doable if he wants to keep that streak going. But yeah, bit of a tough ask. Good thing is they probably will play Panthers and Saints again, I'm assuming. And they have been dreadful.
Yeah, and the Panthers might not be the worst team in football. It might be the Saints.
Saints, yeah. Did fire their coach, so they may be on their fire coach win a game.
It's science.
Science, yeah. They are on a 7-game losing streak after starting the year. Excellent. Carr's been kind of dreadful and getting his players killed, especially last week, which led to the comments that we mentioned. Whereas the Panthers have traded away 2 of their wide receivers, so Johnson and Mingo. They'll have to run with Thielen, Leggett going forward. Leggett looks pretty good.
Yeah,
Young
he actually does look good.
Yeah, Young I think is going to start again with Dalton still missing after his car accident. And, they're a odd team for signing running backs. They signed Sanders to a big deal and then got
Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, got the Chubba and then just signed him to a deal after they just drafted Brooks in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
And he's about to be back, so he might be. Yeah, we'll see. And that's a pretty good money. I think it was a 4-year extension for 33 mil, so about 8 mil a year.
To his credit, they've had to heavily rely on him
for multiple seasons. Yeah.
Yep, without
going back to when CMC was still there.
Exactly, without great offensive line play. Yeah. So good on him for getting his bag.
He's been very good for them, consistent. He might not be CMC, but he's at least toting the rock for him.
It is interesting when you compare, the money that we're just talking about Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley thinking they're worth.
Yeah.
It's also a function of cap space, and they've probably got a little
bit extra
to try and hold on to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Panthers, Saints, doo-doo.
Yeah. The
Bucks, I think maybe might be able to win their division, but it's certainly the Falcons to win.
Yeah. Bucks going to get healthy and play better D.
Overall, what's your take been on the first half of the season? And let's
cool.
get a Super Bowl prediction off you if you wouldn't mind.
Scoring was probably a bit slow to start the season, but I think it's picked up in late. We're starting to get a bit more free-flowing football, and that's probably a combination of how many rookie and young quarterbacks are playing in the league now. So, yeah, it's I think the back half of the season is going to be excellent. And Super Bowl, Ravens, Lions. Which I think is what I said last year.
that was going to be the Super Bowl that I was going to say off the top of my head. So I might go something just to be a little bit fun or different. If you're going to be fun or different, you can't go the Chiefs.
Fuck them.
So let's go the Bills.
They can't was it? That's 3 for them in a row if they make another one?
It'll be America going for anyone who's versing the Bills, I think. Start of the season, I said Packers. I think the injuries that Love's been taking, they're still good. They're still good.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Packers. I'll go Bills, Lions.
Fun.
I think a lot of people think the Lions are the real deal. I think the Lions believe they're the real deal.
Well, they've been blowing out everyone they've been playing. So they've been running bloody trick plays. The offensive linemen, they're that bored in games. So
their playbook is sick.
Yeah.
Good
coaching. And
even just watching him against the Packers, they had like the first touchdown that they threw to Amon-Ra. He's on the motion going out and he runs like this, like look back at the quarterback and they're like, I've seen this before. And then he just continues and it's perfect ball in the wet.
Yeah.
And it's just like their offense is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, Jared Goff's playing elite football.
Barely has incompletions on the season. Like his
completion rates.
I'll get it for you. It won't be hard. And then they've got the dual threat running backs who are, peas and carrots. What are they calling him? Sonic and
Knuckles.
Sonic and Knuckles. That's right. Gibbs and Montgomery. Montgomery just the ball that can get the goal line work, and Gibbs, open field. You don't want to be trying to tackle him. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think Aiden Hutchinson's a huge loss for them.
Yeah, that's the thing that hurts.
But, they've got Smith now, and hopefully he can fill a little bit of that role.
Goff's completions percentage halfway through the season is 75%.
Yeah. And
crazy.
Baker's the only one in the 70s out of that
Baker's
top 20.
Baker, to his credit, 71.5%. And Goff's QBR is 115, which is second, only behind Lamar.
Yeah.
Having a year, that's for sure.
Been very, very good.
That'll wrap up our NFL chat. We do love the sport, and it's really getting down to the business end of the year. That's for sure.
Curry sets, fires, puts it up. Bang!
The other US sport that we do keep a close eye on, it's at the other end of its season, right at the start. Let's start with the Eastern Conference. And everyone thought the Celtics were going to be good, but I don't think anyone expected the Cavs to go 11-0.
Yeah, I've seen the jokes, Cavs in Trump eras. They've been very good. And, like you said, they're 11-0 at the moment.
And shout out to their actual coach, Kenny Atkinson. So they haven't lost since he's been
124 points a game.
Yeah, so first for points per game, first for three-point percentage, shooting 42%, 43% nearly from beyond the arc.
Which is pretty important in today's NBA. I think it's quite interesting, some hot takes to start the year is that it's been three-point heavy, but also crowd numbers down, because I guess the spectacle of watching people shoot from deep and potentially miss rebounds and then go down the other end, 3-point shoot, and then rinse and repeat as games is maybe not as popular, considering play of basketball and defense later in the season. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's probably the old head kind of thing. It's much like we talk about cricket here and we go, fucking T20 cricket, ruining cricket. True. I think there are a lot of old head basketball fans over there that say,
but
back in the day.
Having said that, it's also ridiculous. Like it is the most 3-point attempts ever.
By far.
Yeah. And the percentages aren't amazing.
That is true.
The highest is 42%. So,
which from beyond the arc is good.
Yes, which is definitely beyond the arc is good. But if every shooting opportunity is a 3-point attempt, there's a lot of turnovers in that. Yes, it's leading to more high score boring games, but is it boring? Is it boring to watch? And I'm not in either camp really. It hurts the Aussies. Let's put it that way, because we don't have any great 3-pointer shooters, and most of our big names are guys that want to get inside and get towards the boards. Ben Simmons and say Giddey come to mind, but it's just I guess where the league is at the moment. Yeah, the Warriors broke it, and everyone wants the 3-point shoot.
That's right. It's a copycat league, isn't it? And we saw with the Splash Brothers 10 or so years ago, the changed from paint-based offense to perimeter-based offense, and now with the ball movement and the pick and rolls and the screens that they set up, and
get plenty of open looks. So.
And you see big men that can shoot three now as well.
Everyone can shoot.
It's expected.
Yeah, if you can't shoot, you can't play in the NBA. It's basically the way it's going. So you see big man out on the perimeter practicing over and over again, trying to shoot 3 points because no one wants to push it inside anymore.
I don't think it's boring.
Yeah, I think it'll be
different.
It's there. I think that's the point. It's different. It'll be interesting as the season continues whether someone tries to flip the mold, goes back to like, hey, we're going to be more consistent. score more regularly on our possessions and get turnovers when you miss your 3-point shots. And potentially win games that way. It'd be interesting to see if there's a hard-nosed, more gritty team than a in-your-face play that kind of hard playoff defense instead of being a predominantly 3-point shooting team.
Could you see any of the teams with their current lists going that mould?
No. Of the top, guys, teams are in the top 5s.
Maybe the Knicks come to mind there, going for Cat and...
But Cat shoots heaps from outside. That's, so...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I think most of the teams that have gone that way of let's build around a shooter. Well, probably Ben Simmons, like the Nets. Does it make if you want to go build around Ben Simmons? Then you got to be more inside because he can't shoot. But
he's been playing.
Yeah, he's definitely been playing, which is good.
He's averaging devil stat line 666. Not many points.
Maybe Bulls.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams have gotten away from that. So, it'd be really hard.
Yeah, I don't see it happening in today's league.
Like I kind of think Nuggets, just because of the size and they could probably play like that, but they also don't need to.
So. Their big man can shoot threes. Yeah. Jamal Murray can shoot threes. Christian Brown can shoot threes.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting as the game plays out. I think it's just the way that the league's gone now. I think everyone plays like that now.
Speaking of Nuggets, did you see the video of the female broadcaster talking about the Nuggets during the week?
I did not.
Used the wrong N word to talk about the Nuggets.
Like how? So
I don't know. Just said the wrong.
She wasn't saying a college athlete's name. There's a few going on there.
Yeah, talk about the Nuggets and said it.
Like it was like a she muddled her word. She was trying to say Nuggets.
Yeah, she's trying to say Denver. She's trying to say the Nuggets. Like talking about the Nuggets.
That just sounds like a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, it was. But her other commentators didn't let it slide and gave a shit about it. It's like, we're going to hear about this all week. Yeah.
I'll need to check that out. I haven't seen it.
Poor lass, unfortunately.
I'm glad you didn't quote her information.
Oh, no, I wasn't. Definitely not.
Let's run through the rest of the East. So Cavs and Celtics looking by far the best. Interesting, like you're talking about with the 3-point volume. Opening night, the Celtics tied the record for most threes ever in a game with 29. And they should have actually hit about 34, but they just went cold at the end.
Missed 13 straight, I think it was the end.
Crazy. Derek White's been quite consistent, and Jason Tatum backing up after winning his first ring. It's going to be them and the Cavs in the East. I know it's early, like we shouldn't really be making statements like that, but
they're so far ahead already. They're kind of showing their talent, and I think again, Knicks will probably be there. Hornets rely on Ball as long as he plays most of the year. They'll probably be in that conversation. Yeah,
after the Knicks, who are 4-4, I actually don't know if there's anyone that I'm like definitively they're a good team.
No.
We saw the Pacers a bit last year, but they've started slow. Halliburton's averaging like 7 dimes a game, where he's been up at around 10.5 the last few seasons.
Has Jimmy Butler been playing for the Heat?
I don't think he's missed heaps, but I'll get his game up. He hasn't been fully healthy.
Well, I guess the interesting team on that list is probably the 76ers, right down there at the bottom, considering Joel Embiid, injured, not injured, rest managed, not rest managed.
Smacking reporters.
Getting fined, etc. So, they've had some close losses there, the Heat.
Jimmy's been playing most games, although did only play 7 against Denver. So I don't know what his current status is. He might be a day-to-day. Back to the 76ers. 1-7. It's a very slow start. They need Embiid to be healthy. Tyrese Maxey can't do it all by himself.
They've got 6 weeks, I think. It's the Christmas window. So if they're still losing 90% of their games, then I think it's going to be too big of a hurdle to overcome.
100%. And it's interesting, the 14th team in the East is the Bucks.
Yep.
Who, if you look at the Greeks Freaks numbers and Dame's numbers, have been good.
Yeah. Interesting comments, like if there was the interview he did post-game and told someone off camera, like if you don't want to be here, you can fuck off. And then going back to what we were talking about at the start of the season, about some odd comments about trading, like maybe I should be traded kind of thing, like maybe setting the groundwork for. I'm not disgruntled, but maybe I should be traded.
I remember,
which is interesting. So
Giannis trade rumors were going berserk for a little bit there in the off season, and then sort of got quashed.
Yeah, I wonder.
Chris Middleton hasn't played yet. Like, how much of impact does he have? The rest of their team's getting a bit old as well. Like,
I wonder if they're kind of in the rebuild, fresh start kind of mode. And
yeah, I would have thought so. I thought you bring in Dame and try to make him the missing piece. Obviously, coming across last year.
Yeah, but was it last year? Or was that the thing? Like,
also, is it they've just played 9 games and we don't need to be too concerned?
Yeah, that too.
That would probably be my take at this stage. I'm more worried about the 76ers than I am the Bucks. We'll put it that way. Because I look at these teams ahead, the Raptors aren't good. The Wizards aren't good.
Like they're 2 games out, like 2 wins away from the team that's in 4th. So on 3rd. So like it's not a huge hurdle at this point.
Yeah.
A good week and they'll be right back up there.
A team that's interesting is the Magic. Because they were good before Banchero got hurt. He put up that 50-point game when they beat the Pacers. I think he was averaging 29 points a game. They're saying about 4 to 6 weeks with an oblique tear, which is a reasonable amount considering as well they've been pretty ordinary without him. With a healthy Paolo, healthy Wagner brothers, Jalen Suggs has come a long way. I could see them being like a reasonable sort of 3rd or 4th team in the East. But again, back end of the season, are they going to go and win 4 games against the Celtics? No, probably not.
No.
Not this year.
No, not this year.
But they're fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're fun. In the East, I think it's really Cavs Celtics, and then
it's been like that for the last couple of years. I feel.
Well, it's really been Celtics, and then everyone else. And now the Cavs are saying, "Hey, don't forget about us."
True. Yeah, it's Celtics and then the best of the rest. But Cavs have been doing good, and they have to so they can continue it.
Let's go over to the West, where it is looking a lot deeper. At least. So Suns are 8-1, Thunder are 8-1, Warriors, interestingly, 7-2. I thought. It's going to be too much for Steph to overcome, losing his splash brother this year. Buddy Hield's been really good so far. So they've been good. T-Wolves look pretty good. They're 6-3.
Is always going to be good.
You see, and he started first 5 games, I think he had 5 3-pointers plus, and wherever they're at the moment, 9 games. He's got the most 3-pointers for anyone through 9 games who's not Steph Curry. So he's playing pretty good. Nugs 6-3. Jokic could be the MVP again. Grizzlies looking better with Ja actually playing consistently. Lakers haven't been half bad.
Well, Anthony Davis, going back to the MVP conversation, is throwing his name in there. I think I've seen a few places have him as favourite at the moment. I've
got the odds. They've got Shea as favourite, but he'll be top 5. He leads the league for points at the moment. With 32.5. Sportsbet's got him at $15. They got him 6th at the moment for MVP. A lot of talk, obviously, about Bronny in the off-season. Got on court, got to play minutes with his dad, made a bucket, and he's back into the G League now.
I think that's probably what his season will be. It'll be up and down. Probably more G League than NBA basketball.
Probably finishes in the G League, I would think, this year. But it's cool, the storyline, and definitely on this podcast, wish him all the best because I don't think I've seen anyone cop as much hate online in recent memory. Ben Simmons comes to mind, but it's always going to be hard. They're big shoes to fill, and the Nepo baby chat will always be around him, and that's going to be fire for him. And
so massive shoes. So got to be his own man and prove himself to be worthy.
Speaking of his old man, he turns 40 in December, I believe. He's still averaging about 24 points per game, and the Lakers look functional.
They did drop Russell, didn't they? For the next game coming up, he had a bit of an all-time stinker in their last one.
Really?
And I think I saw the video of Redick on the sideline kind of losing his mind. And then he looks like he's going to be rested.
There's trade rumours too, by the looks. JJ Redick clarifies emotional outburst towards D'Angelo Russell. So they got into it on the side of the court, did they? Interesting. Yeah, lots of trade rumours around D'Lo there.
Threw up some bricks, unfortunately, I think.
Yeah, interesting. Well, that connect that they drafted, could probably play the point. don't know if they'd want to make Reeves the point. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that all unfolds. He's really rocks or diamonds, old D'Lo. He has games where you're like, yeah, he's
just like
elite point guard, and then sometimes, just doesn't have him.
Yep.
Who else? Mavs, Western Conference champs last year. They're 5-4. Luca's doing Luca things.
Kings were good last year.
Yeah.
So they're still fighting there. Pels, I think Zion's injured again, isn't he?
Hasn't been playing. They're a little banged up. They've still won 3 games. The only team that really looks ordinary is the Jazz. Did win yesterday. And we've got to talk about our Patty Mills. 900th NBA game, which is a massive achievement. The first Aussie to ever do that, and miles ahead of Joe Ingles, who's on 708 or something like that.
Yep.
And still playing some minutes and still scoring. So good on him. It's interesting looking at the West compared to the East. I think Jazz, you can forget about him. I think Blazers, you can forget about him. Spurs haven't been horrendous. Chris Paul at the point. Wemby's in his second year doing alien things. Could certainly be there or thereabouts for play-in. I don't think they're bothering anyone later in the season. No. Same with the Pels. Like, if they get healthy.
Yeah, well, they went on that huge run back in the last year as well. So, again, they're Zion dependent.
100%. When I look at the West, I think there's only 2 bad teams. I think the Blazers and the Jazz are the only 2 bad teams.
Yep.
And I may need to eat my words with the Pels or Spurs, but we'll see. It's definitely not like the East where you look at it and you think,
it's top heavy.
There's a lot of bad teams in the East. Which means
I guess in the East,
fun towards the end of the year.
Two of the big teams in the East are also right at the bottom because they haven't been playing too well. So that's probably the caveat there.
Yeah, that's true.
You think
we think the Bucks and the Sixers will self-correct a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you wouldn't want to go to 1-10, 2-10 kind of stuff if you're Philly or Milwaukee. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So through 3 weeks, what's interested you? We had the LeBron, Ja Morant sort of.
Yep, you're too small.
Bit of spice. Yeah, you're too small. I think Ja's a very, very good player. I don't know if he's quite earned the right to do that just yet, and probably deserved copping the elbow from LeBron.
Yeah, a little bit there and that. But
maybe should have been an offensive foul too. Who knows?
Yeah.
What else?
I guess the Suns been up there they've been playing really, really well.
Well, yeah, we kind of breezed over those top 2 teams, didn't we? It was just like, Suns and Thunder 8-1.
Yeah,
SGA is the favourite for the MVP.
They've been really good. So I think they lost out in that Giddey trade so far.
So far I would say so, but time will tell. Caruso's not a bad player.
He's not a bad player. Statistically, Giddey's outplaying him leaps and bounds at the moment.
Yeah, and good for Josh Giddey because all the shit that he had to deal with off court last year. Obviously, as Aussies, we're probably rooting for him, and definitely seems like the things that had happened could have possibly happened to anyone off the court last year. Anyway, settled off court. Suns and Thunder look good. The Warriors have been surprisingly good. I still like this mid sort of tier through here, like the Wolves, Nuggets,
Grizz, all fun.
Grizz, Mavs. West is going to be fun. That's for sure. We're not even a month in, so we'll keep an eye on it as we head into one of the funner periods in the sporting calendar, and that's sort of the Christmas NBA type scenario. So after weeks of speculation, it's finally happened. Manchester United have sacked Erik ten Hag. It was 10 days ago or so. And have announced Ruben Amorim as their new manager. He's a Portuguese manager at Sporting Lisbon. He's only 39 years of age. How's this? This is I was having a look at Sporting, how they've been going, because they beat Man City in the Champions League this week. Yep. They're in their Liga Portugal. They're 10 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. They've scored 35 goals and they've got 3 goals against. They're only 10 games in, but the way they're playing, they probably should win that league, unless the secret is this Ruben Amorim.
Yep.
So he'll come over to United this week. They're going to pay out the rest of his contract at Sporting Lisbon, which is a fair amount. Although when it comes to soccer money, everything's a fair amount. And when you're talking about one of the biggest clubs in the world that has been underperforming for the last 10 years, probably no fee is big enough.
Correct.
So he's going to come across. He's got a lot to try and steady here with United, who's currently sit 13th behind juggernauts such as Bournemouth and Brentford and Fulham in the EPL. And he's going to have, he's back up against the wall straight away as soon as he lands at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it's a tough job definitely to be in.
Yeah, we talk about scrutiny on this, podcast and pressure. There's probably not many more high pressure jobs than an EPL manager. An EPL manager at what used to be the biggest club in the world with their fan base. He's going to have his work cut out for him, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's still a massive club. Like it hasn't really got too much smaller, but maybe some of the other ones have gotten a bit bigger. But yeah, it's you think of the English Premier League, you think of Man United. So
definitely for people our age as well. I think late
Beckham
90s, early noughties. Yeah. Their one saving grace, perhaps, is their crosstown rivals have actually lost a few games. They've lost 4 in a row. It's the first time that's happened since 2006. That's across all formats. So 2 2 in the league. I think 1 Champions, 1 League Cup, something along those lines. They got handily beaten by Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League midweek. And with Rodri out for the year and KDB coming back from soft tissue, they've looked like a bunch of humans.
Yeah, beatable.
Haaland
is still leading the league.
They're still second. Haaland's still a freak. He's 4 ahead. At top of the league there. He scored 12 from 11 games. I still think they're playing Champions League.
He scored over half of their goals. They're still going to be there and thereabouts. But
I think the issue has been their defence. They've conceded 13. So you look at the teams around them. Liverpool 6. Notts Forest 7.
Don't talk about Notts Forest.
Chris Wood, the Kiwi. He's their striker. He's scored 8. He's October Player of the Month. You like to see it. Taking on the big teams there, and Brighton sitting in 4th as well, who beat Man City overnight. So some of the minnows going okay, and then you've got Chelsea and Arsenal into Fulham as well. Have gone pretty good. Aston Villa of sitting atop the Champions League or right towards the top of the Champions League fame.
Yeah. It's a very close league so far. Like Liverpool's probably out and out in the lead.
Well, yeah,
but from 3 down to 12, 13, like that's 1 or 2 games difference.
100%.
It's very, very close.
Yeah, from 3 to 13. Actually, well, let's cut United out of it for a second. From 3 to 12, from Notts Forest in 3rd on 19 points to Newcastle in 12th on 15 points. There's 4 points that separates it. So that mid-tier and that fight for those Champions League spots is going to be intense. And Liverpool are definitely doing themselves no harm under Arne Slot.
Big lead
going, well ahead and obviously getting a few favours from a few City slip-ups.
Yep.
Scroll down for us and we'll look at some relegation danger. Leicester and Everton at 15th, 16th on 10. Palace 17th on 7, and then Wolves, Ipswich, Southampton in the red zone as it stands. Wolves on 6 points, Ipswich on 5, Southampton on 4.
Palace not safe there though.
Yeah, and no one's got a line through them just yet. Too early in the season, that's for sure.
No. And Everton and Leicester City are also very, very close.
Yeah, they're teetering.
Yep.
It's fun. It's probably you don't want to laugh too much at the failures of other clubs, but when it's Man City and they're looking beatable and dropping 4 games in a row, it's actually, I think, really fucking good for English football and for general interest, given how dominant they've been.
Yeah, but having said that, if all the other teams are busy squabbling, it looks like Liverpool will just run away with it.
Yeah, that's also a good point. Let me have a look at Liverpool's run upcoming, because if they get a few more wins and City drops any more, this could be we get to halfway and
she wrote.
They play Southampton next weekend. They fucking should win that
Southampton. That's Champions League.
Games.
Then they're into Man City.
Yeah, okay. So
Man City on the 2nd. That'll be the
2nd December. Put that in your diary. That's going to be the big one in just under a month. Do you want to talk a bit about Champions League? How have you found the 36-team format? I kind of think it's a little interesting.
It's interesting, but it's I guess it's also a lot for Champions League. I guess that's probably okay.
I think so much
because we're going to have the growth in all the other tournaments essentially. You know, the World Cup's going to be ginormous, but I guess that's what I'm getting at. That's a one-off event, so I don't think you need to increase the Champions League too much, considering you play it so regularly every year. But is it losing its luster as a Champions League when you've got?
I think it's kind of interesting, like. The fact that it's like a league, I think the problem with it is it's so dependent on draw.
Yeah.
And which teams get which teams. But it kind of makes every game interesting. And then I think the back end is going to be really cutthroat as well. So, and we're going to see some big teams miss
so
automatic.
Based on that, does it split? So if you automatic, the top 8 get into the round of 16 and then the next
so from
16
9 to 24 is playoff.
Yeah, okay.
So if it was to finish now, it's only they're halfway through. PSG would miss, and then there'd be some big teams in these knockout phases. Okay, so between 9th and 24th at the moment, you've got City, Juventus, Arsenal, Leverkusen, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Milan, Atletico. There's some big clubs in that mid zone. Yep. And then, if it was to finish, Aston Villa would be straight through, which is pretty cool. Brest would be straight through. Monaco, Lux, some teams that on paper or, they're on their payrolls probably have no right to be up there.
Yep.
So, in some regards, it's interesting, I think. It is interesting that Liverpool sit 2 points clear of the Champions League and 5 points clear of the EPL. It's going to be...
too good at the moment.
Yeah, it's a big year for Reds fans, that's for sure. I think that'll pretty much do us for soccer. Hasn't been heaps going on from an Aussie perspective. Obviously, the last podcast, Socceroos had sort of got themselves back into the conversation for qualifiers, and we'll have a look at how they're going next international break.
Yeah, but then we've gone back into league games, into championship games, and then there'll be another international weekend at some point. So a lot of soccer going on.
Yeah, well, from an Australian perspective, less interesting. From an actual good quality football, more interesting. That's
definitely.
For sure. All right, let's wrap this pitch up with a On The Esky final round. Huge UFC card upcoming at the Garden. They're going to Madison Square Garden for UFC 309. John Jones makes his return to defend his heavyweight championship belt. It's been 18 months. That's gone quick, I think, for me, since he beat Cyril Gane.
Was it bicep or pec?
Pec, I think
it was pec. I feel like it was pec.
Let me chase that up.
But it's a long-term recovery injury, that one. John Jones not getting any younger. Stipe definitely very old. It'll probably definitely be Stipe's last fight, I would say. John Jones will go. Could be his. Maybe there's some other things in there. He's already talking about. Post that, like he'd prefer, say, Pereira over Aspen as his, for the legacy, like if he's going to defend the belt at all. So it'll be hard to see. Likelihood is I think both will probably retire at the end of this. But we will have to, see what happens.
Pec tear, which was November last year. So we
12
see,
months.
it's a long time. But we see with the pec tears in the footy, often they're season enders.
Yep.
It's usually a 6 month recovery.
Yep.
So then recovery, training camp, scheduling, and all the rest of it.
And it's interesting. By all accounts, he's about 13 pounds lighter. So for that Garn fight, he was 248. And I think he's at 235 at the moment.
It was so interesting watching him on social media, sort of chronicling his jump from light heavyweight to heavyweight. And the UFC is kind of flawed in that light heavyweight's at 205, and then you go up to heavyweight and it's 265. They need
it's the other way. It's capped. It's capped at 265.
Yeah,
so,
but they need something in the middle, surely, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of where you go that's kind of where. What did boxing end up? No, boxing's uncapped in the heavyweight because at one point they had the super heavyweights. So you'd have like a 230, 235 as your heavyweight division, and then your super heavyweights is then your uncapped essentially, or has an upper limit of 265, for example.
I feel like the UFC should have something in there.
It makes a lot of sense, but there also is such a limit of blokes with that kind of
that Francis Ngannou size.
Yeah.
Walk around a lean 265.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he walks around probably 280. And
Yeah. And, there's probably more that are there 230, but then they're like the Alex Pereiras who then cut to 205 anyway.
Or lighter.
Yeah. It's just, it's the way it's set up. So Jones is going to take on Stipe. I think Jones probably runs through Stipe at this point.
Agreed. Stipe is 42. Good on him for taking this fight.
Yeah.
A legend and most likely future Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I just think it's probably going to go the similar sort of way of going. The fight went. Like, I think Stipe is probably a better wrestler overall, but I just think Jones is so much better than him in that regard. There might be enough size difference for Donson Banner, but again, I just think Jones is the GOAT for the reason. And he might have got his undefeated record back because they've now re-added the 12-6 elbow, allowing it after it's being an illegal strike. So saw some of those today. Actually, funny video because the one lady had another lady rolled up and it was 12-6 elbows to the anus.
Holy.
Yeah.
Legal.
Yeah, legal.
Jesus.
Had her like rolled up so her butt was like there and she just got like this straight in the anus.
Just a little glute release.
Yeah, exactly.
He's still got his no contest on that record.
I think they'll look to overturn that now with the new rule change, but we'll see.
And his one loss.
Might have been his DC. No, the Eagle loss.
Yeah.
The no contest was against DC for the drugs.
So, do you think that they will retrospectively change that loss? Matt Hamill will have something to say about it.
Potentially. Flick it from a loss to a no contest. So he'll just get his zero. He'll get his undefeated back.
Which, again, when we go to GOAT conversations, is going to be important. I don't think there is a unanimous GOAT in the UFC, the more that I watch it, with different weight classes and obviously all the asterisks around John Jones.
John Jones got a lot of asterisks. For me, it's still probably GSP. I think GSP is still the best. You look at the competitors he fought against and their overall records when he fought them, the amount he defended, the two different belts, like he's probably... but then, for a pure athlete, is like Jones and him are probably 1 and 2, honestly, in my own mind.
Where does Khabib go in your
probably
mind?
4, 5, maybe.
I think
Anderson. I still think needs to be up there,
even with losses at the end of his career.
Yeah, well, just for the length of his career, and he's had fun fights to end it, which is what we missed for Khabib. He had a couple of defenses and then he pieced out, so he needed another.
Good on him.
Good on him. But, another 10 years in his career and he puts it to bed, like if he wins all those fights.
Probably not even 10.
Yeah.
5.
But he could have had another 20 fights easy, I'd say, in the UFC because he was young at the time.
Yeah, I'm searching now. How old was Khabib when he retired? He was still 33. 30, is that right? Yeah, 33. And he's 36.
Or did he retire at 29? Because he's a year younger than
yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you fought twice a year, and there's 8 more fights he could have had then. He could probably fight until he's 37, 36.
Yeah,
so
he definitely could have fought 10 more times, I'd say.
Easy. Anywhere from 10 to 20 more times. So, but, he's finished up. And, I think the others just did more and across more divisions overall than what Khabib kind of just left us hanging, blue balled us a little bit.
Nothing worse. Going back to UFC 309, you think Jones wins this pretty handedly?
Yeah, I think Jones probably runs through him in the first round.
Bookies agree. You'll get $1.16 for the head-to-head.
It is also a heavyweight division, so you also never know. If they fire a few bazookas and then it's all she wrote. But I just feel like Jones is better.
Jones by KO, TKO, first round, you get $4.90 if you're interested in a little tickle there. Good on Stipe for taking this fight. Incredibly tough man, but I am going to side with you there. I don't think I can argue with John Jones, that's for sure.
I think Aspinall's going to be the backup, but I think if anything happens to either of these two, this fight won't go. It won't go ahead.
We're a week out, so hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
What about this lightweight fight? That's 2 killers. The second-ranked Charles Oliveira taking on the 7th-ranked Michael Chandler. They're both coming off losses.
Chandler's had a long break.
Yeah, that was ages ago, that BMF belt, wasn't it?
Did he fight for the BMF belt?
Didn't he?
He fought a while ago.
No, he didn't, because Poirier and Gaethje fought for the
that,
BMF.
yeah.
He fought Poirier before that.
Yeah, and that was 2022. So
yeah,
it's
so
been
2 years. Like right on 2 years.
Yeah, he's been waiting for Conor all this year, and that never eventuated. So, it's been a long layoff for him. He's definitely getting up there.
He's 38 years in age too now, Michael Chandler.
Charles Oliveira, he's fought a lot more in that sort of same time frame. He's fought twice.
Yep. Did have the loss in April to Arman Sarukian.
Yeah, some rumours about one of these guys potentially falling out through injury, but they seem good through with a week to go. I think this will be a good fight. They did fight each other, and I think Chandler knocked Oliveira down to start with, but in the end, Oliveira got the win in the second round. Yep. Kind of woke him up, and he came out firing. So it's an interesting rematch. I think Oliveira's probably still better, but his problem with Oliveira is very hittable. Yeah, and Chandler does have some power, so if he can survive that, he probably wins it. But outside of that, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, agree. I think you've got the well-rounded Charles Oliveira, who's got skills in each facet, whereas you definitely wouldn't want to get on the end of a Chandler haymaker. Yeah. But if it goes to ground and he can control the ground, you'd think Oliveira probably comes away with the bickies. He's $1.38 head-to-head, Chandler at $3.07. The girls going at it, Vivian Araujo, I hope I said that right, Karine Silva. Don't know a whole lot about them in the women's flyweight.
Not much about these two in the flyweight.
I also don't know much about these Mauricio Ruffy and James Lontop in the lightweight.
I feel like it's very top heavy for this. It's just like, let's put some up-and-comers.
I think they knew that people were going to pay to see John Jones.
Yeah, for potentially his last fight in the UFC.
Yeah, so they kind of knew that.
Yeah, and the lightweight fight is also excellent in there. So, yeah, up-and-comers, that's why you see, and it's probably the last fight on that card, Bo Nickel taking on Paul Craig. Paul Craig's
fight.
Yeah, it's a good fight. Paul Craig's been coming up, and Bo Nickel's been dominating everyone he's faced with his wrestling capability. So
kind of anointed as the future middleweight champion from a young age. So a lot of pressure for him to deliver.
Last fight.
Yeah, it's been a little while for Bo Nickel.
Yeah, it's middleweight.
Let me find him. Just scrolling here.
Well, should be in here.
Here we go. Bo Nickel.
Does he have a ranking yet?
I thought he had one. Yeah,
Paul Craig doesn't either, but they're very. I think they're both kind of on the cusp. Might have been a little.
I can't believe he still doesn't have a ranking, given how much people talk about him.
In April.
So he's 6-0. He has only had 3 fights in the UFC officially. His other fights have been Dana White contenders.
Yeah.
But yeah, he finishes all his fights.
I think maybe win for either one of these guys, a win and probably put him in the 15th space because I know Paul Craig's on a bit of a run too, they're kind of ascending as potential challengers in the middleweight division.
He's a little bit older than I thought, Bo Nickel. He's 28.
Well, Olympian, so, and been in college wrestling for forever, so played a part in that, I think.
Bookie's got him pretty short, $1.10 for Bo Nickel. Paul Craig goes to $7. It's very top heavy, but obviously a lot of people will want to see John Jones and Stipe Miocic. Some interesting undercard names as well. Chris Weidman's going to be there. Jim Miller's going to be there.
Jim Miller, yep.
Yeah. So a few old heads there on the undercard.
Nicky Gall is there too.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's probably not a super well-rounded card. But yeah, a lot of interest obviously in that heavyweight fight.
Yep.
Let's talk about some F1. We don't... Oh, hang on.
We do.
Bastian Vettel.
My apologies. Obviously, the man that's usually on my right is the sound man. No F1 race this weekend. We do have 3 races left. Next week they go to Sin City.
Following week. It's the 24th, I think.
So they got a 2-week layoff at the moment.
Break, yeah, going back from, I guess, South America back to America.
Yeah, so they have one in Vegas and they finished the last 2 in the Middle East.
Yep.
How's it looking?
Pretty juicy. Basically, Max Verstappen had all-class result in Brazil. Started 17th, won the race in the wet. And, it was pretty interesting. Some comments say from Lando saying things like it wasn't talent, it was luck, which I guess is a bit rich because, a wet track kind of equalizes out all the cars because it's all about car control then, how you can apply the power and get around the circuit as quickly as possible. And Max Verstappen set fastest lap after fastest lap, completely dominated the race and finished with like a 20-second lead after starting 17th, which is wild to think. So that extends his lead a little bit. But the big thing from that is if he finishes ahead of Lando in Vegas, I believe he'll be the world champion. And it'd been 10 races, I think, since the last time he'd won as well. So he'd had a bit of a break. Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, not since Spain.
6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I think at least 10 races there. So bit of a break there while the McLarens and Mercedes kind of took some of those ones and Ferraris as well. But, he got the win there. McLaren struggled a little bit. Lando went off twice in that Brazil race. The Alpines finished second and third, which is a massive outcome for Gasly and Ocon, considering that had been struggling otherwise all season. So that's been pretty impressive. So that's the outlook. So, Max finished ahead of Lando, wins.
That's it.
Wins drivers. Constructors is much closer. McLaren are definitely in front.
593 to Ferrari's 557 and then Red Bull 544.
Yeah, and that's the influencing conversation because there's a lot of talk about Perez. What happens with Perez because he's been letting the team down essentially, which is unfortunate for him. He has 11 and 17th in the last two. He hasn't had a great stint. 7, 10, 17.
It's shocking, so really, the back end of the season. 4
points from 5 races for him. So
he started so good.
Yeah, and then signed that contract and then went to shit. So, they're now looking at, can we get a replacement? Is it Liam Lawson maybe next year? They're looking at the Argentinian, so Franco, potentially.
Colapinto.
Yeah, there's some talk about him. Alpine are interested in him, which might be at the expense of Jack Doohan, who's got the contract for next year. Us Aussies would hate to see that, but that's some of that conversation. So a lot of the driver spots are filled up. Sauber have signed on their guys for next year, and so the grid's very much locked and loaded, as we know. So that's about the state of F1. It was almost mock-worthy, but the Drivers Association of Grand Prix Drivers or something like that, they've got a funny name, had a pretty scathing statement to the FIA, who the guys that run the sport, all to do about swearing in press conferences.
What words were said?
So it wasn't said as an insult, which is kind of their point.
Casual swearing. So
I think Max said, the car was fucking shit kind of thing. He got a big fine and then it was all shit with the media. Then Lando during the week said the same sort of thing. It was just like, the car was, it was just fucked. And he's like, oh, wait, don't fire me like Max. Because they kind of know that conversation. But the point is that, and I think Leclerc might have done something similar as well, got a fine. Half of which was suspended for swearing in Mexico's GP's post-race. So, again, more swearing. And the Drivers Association basically said, these are the top 20 racing drivers in the world. They're adults. They're also, highly strung. Treat them as adults. They're not children. You don't need to be fining them for swearing. Considering it's it's casual. It's not like they're attacking another guy.
Sure.
They're not getting stuck into the FIA. They're not saying another team. They're not doing like that. And I worry for, Oscar's a cool, calm head, Jack Doohan coming in, but the Aussies, I was like, settle down, don't throw away around any of the language we know we can do, because you might be a long suspension for 3 points. We saw it in the soccer in the US.
100%.
Be careful with what you say.
Say, will you fucking see you next Tuesday? Just keep it down.
Exactly.
I can see, and I obviously don't have a problem with a bit of colourful language, but I can see where the FIA is coming from. If it's a press conference and you potentially have children watching, and this isn't...
Considering like a race day isn't, like they do the press conferences, isn't like a evening time slot kind of thing. It's throughout the whole day.
Yep.
Like, yeah, exactly. Anyone could be tuning in.
Yep.
And I guess you kind of you don't see it as much, say, in the NFL and NBA. They're kind of reserved. You see it a lot more in rugby league and AFL, but
Press conferences, less so.
Press conferences less so. Post matches,
Yeah, you see it sometimes.
definitely post matches.
But like the on-field mic definitely picks up a lot.
yeah,
That's for sure.
but like this one on Leclerc, that's post race. That's in there.
Yeah, okay.
I might not be in the press conference. It might be in the cool down room afterwards. I'd have to read the rest of it to see where it was actually said. But yeah, you might be saying things. Yes, it's being televised, but kind of heat of the moment too. They do bleep out a lot of the swearing during the race, for team radios because they can delay it. But live interviews, other stuff happens. But yeah, it was just interesting how clean they want the Formula One to be, and I guess where we're at. Most of these guys are young too; they're in their early 20s. A few swear words here and there isn't too bad.
Well, it's
Especially
also
for Australians.
it's interesting, and this doesn't really have much to do with sport, but it's the biggest thing that's happened in the week this year. It is the biggest thing in this year. It's the biggest thing in the last 4 years. The Republicans just won the election, and did a lot of long format podcasts. And I listened to a few, and I heard JD Vance say "fuck" on and as a vice president.
Well, I think
maybe the attitudes towards language is maybe shifting a little bit.
Exactly, and we don't want to talk a lot about politics, but I think across the rallies, I think Waltz did it a bunch as well. There's more casual swearing getting thrown around because I guess it connects with the common man, as you will.
It speaks for the people. Fuck yeah,
exactly. So
I lost my American accent in the end there, but anyway.
But yeah, that's kind of the point. And you watch, and the thing is, you watch more of, and we've got the Australian cricket team here doing a behind the scenes kind of interview. You get
with Fletch and Hindy, I'm sure they've never sworn before.
Yeah, but you're getting more exposure to behind the scenes and more to the personalities, and they're just common. Again, the common men. They're just blokes, and there's a lot of casual swearing in that. A lot of dressing room talk, and I've actually been quite interested in the hot mics in the NFL from ground level.
Yeah. After they score a touchdown, I've heard a few.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of swear words and a lot of other words that I can't repeat. But that gets caught and that gets broadcast. Which is interesting because in the NFL, because on the channel games that are broadcast on the channels, they come out and say, "Oh, sorry for the swearing in that." On the streaming services, so when they're on Amazon Prime, they're just like, it's cool. They don't cover and say, "Oh, sorry for the swearing." It's like, "Oh, it happened. Fuck it." We'll just keep going. So to your point, I think with the way that people are consuming media and the interaction, the casual swearing is probably coming along a little bit. So.
The times they are changing.
Definitely. Big changes coming.
That'll probably do us here 2.5 hours deep. Maybe long format conversation is the future. Who knows? We definitely like to do it for sport.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
That is for sure. Next podcast will be 2 or 3 weeks away. It's going to be a big one for us as cricket fans.
NFL.
As having said a few things about the Indian team on this podcast before as well.
They're scared of Australia, 100%.
Yeah, they're scared of the Gabba, that one as well. It's a massive series upcoming, so we'll keep a close eye on that. Plus our US sport that we love to talk about. The NFL will be coming into the real pointy end with, we're talking
December
about
football.
Well, we're talking about some teams must win now. There's going to be, by the time you get to
eliminated
round 14 plus, everything does become must win for a lot of teams. The NBA will start to get a bit more of an accurate, maybe reflection of how the year is going to unfold. Plus some EPL. We'll see possibly John Jones in the octagon for the last time. There's always plenty to talk about in the world of sport. This is On The Esky. If you're catching us for the first time, we have social media on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Hit that like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. We'll catch you next time here on The Esky.
Bye.